Welcome back to the Resonant State with our dual podcast with Wake the Dead, Sean McCain, Sean McCann, and we have William Ramsey. And so our topic has actually, in a certain way, it is now manifesting in the world. In terms of what we're talking about, is not just abstract. We are actually seeing a very radical split, right? We're seeing something that, Charlie Kirk, again, the guy started when he was 18. He was personal friends with Trump. He was changing his positions. Yes, he was sort of you could say, a generic kind of conservative at the beginning, but he really had a very large following and he seemed to have actual personal integrity. And again, 31 years old. Imagine that guy in 10 years, what level he could be at. But again, another type of assassination with lots of anomalies, strange 910. We have that as that the stabbing also in the neck, 822. I feel these events are connected. But we have a galvanizing of left versus right when in fact that is not even the issue of what's going on here, right? We're looking at hegemonic world control, city of London versus people that at least, well, you know what? I kind of just want to have a normal neighborhood. I don't want to be a slave, up my brain uploaded into Netanyahu's like video game, and whatever. So anyways,
Why? Why?
but anyways, so get into this, and just one last thing that I was looking at is that there's been 360 mass shootings this year, just in 2025. There was where I live. There was three shootings in September: Cincinnati, Cleveland, and somewhere else in Ohio. I didn't hear anything about those shootings. Nothing. That's in this month. So I'm saying that there is a lot going on. There's a very kinetic atmosphere. And so this is just very important work that William is doing. And just we're hitting this to see that as William's going to get into the JFK assassination a bit later, seeing that this model is still in play. This is still in motion. Maybe some of the terrain has changed, but not in a certain way, not that much, right? And you see uh, these little bizarre handouts, such as you could say Manchurian Candidate book, JFK assassination, and in this case, you have a book written about this event before it happened. Supposedly, right? Even if it wasn't, and that was just put up as a psyop, that just shows also there's some kind of consciousness ritual working, as well as really hard political, like brinkmanship, you could say. Or so. Anyways, Sean, great to be here, and you want to say something here before we go to William?
Hello,
So,
hello, hello. It's always an honor to have William, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Hans. So I'm glad to be here with the two of you. And welcome to Wake the Dead viewers and listeners. And we're continuing this with William. This is a wonderful deep dive, and all my listeners love your work, William, and we're so thankful. Um, and Hans is right. I think that the idea of the putting up of the woman getting stabbed in the neck right before Charlie gets shot in the neck, I think that is like that's an occult working in itself. Just to have us thinking about the neck and that such injustice and violence, and then we see the same thing happen in a neck again, and it's a snuff film. Everybody's watching the snuff film, so it's taking that energy and putting that energy into the universe, and really why is it okay to watch snuff films now? It used to be snuff films don't exist, but now it's like everybody must watch. I think that there's a lot to that, and they're pushing us, and they're squeezing our heads so hard. Like we started the beginning of this year talking about Civil War, that movie, and the other one, that Leave the World Behind. Like, how did they start out this year? Like, really, they were hoping for some real chaos, and they want some boogaloo, and they want everybody all, I mean, the way that they framed the shooter as like, oh yeah, he's not a tranny, but his boyfriend is, and that it just enrages all the right wing people that, uh, you know, in the flyover states, and they're all the government wants them to grab their guns. They want all the militiamen to go start the war, and that way they can have no more America. Trump was, since the beginning, all the insignia and symbolism connected to Trump's election was the tower card, the tower, the destruction of the old world. I mean, that's what Trump's job is. That's what he's doing. Now he's like starting the martial law, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, Chicago is messed up and dirty. Go get him, Trumpy. Save us, Hitler. Like, it's we're in a worldwide Weimar right now, and the world, like, the all the powers are just grabbing. They're just taking what they can because they see the shift is happening, and like we're in all this upheaval and turmoil, and the war is in our minds, and this showing us the snuff film of Charlie is that's an attack on our consciousness, and I think it's all intentional. And so, like, the Manchurian Candidate was put through trauma-based mind control, but right now we're all getting trauma-based mind control, on a lesser form. We're all crying for this gentleman here, this Charlie. I mean, and his poor young kids and his wife. Like, I mean, what a tragedy. And we all had to witness and participate, and everybody has to think about it. It is, Hans has talked about it on my show about the descent down the tree of evil. This Klepoth magic is, I think that's in play. And
just real quick to bring this up, and
yeah,
that, and so one thing, to say that you do have to understand that, okay, certain things are just normal events. They happen. Like my garage burned down. Okay, I could say something happened. Just I had a big fire. Just happened in the week, same week. But the number 22, right? So we have the date of the Ukrainian lady stabbed on the 22nd. The shooter is 22 years old. Okay, so we have these two 22s that are very prominent, and so 22 is considered the master number, the bridge between the spiritual and material world, represented by a cube or a square. And it also connected with the 22 paths between the Sephirah in Kabbalah and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, considered the building blocks of the universe. Right. So technically, it's sort of like a positive, happy number, inner mastery, but manifestation of heaven on earth, right? 6 was 9, right? You also have, so it's bringing heaven to earth, earth to heaven, or bringing the physical and material plane. But what physical and material plane is being there, and which cube is being manifested?
Whoa.
Right. And that plays differently if you're Jewish or you're Christian or Gentile or whatever, right? Like, I don't think those are Christian numbers, so you wouldn't know 666 and stuff like that. But there is numerology in this event. 33-hour manhunt. They kept repeating that.
Well, the Freemasons are all doing the Kabbalah magic. If you read Albert Pike, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same. So they're using the same Hebrew letters and all that stuff for the Freemasonry too. So, but welcome, William. Thank you.
We'll let you run, but just again to bring this up, look at this picture. This is look at the photograph. Red background.
Yeah, dude. The squares, all black
squares. The cubes,
black squares.
Black cubes.
Yeah, dude. Like red the black and the tessellated floor of the Freemasonry, the black and white. It's all black, dude. There's no white, right? Oh man.
It's red, and look at it's like they're doing a ritual offering, right? Almost like they're wearing cowled, hooded robes at some kind of looks all the candles almost looks like more like a satanic sacrifice.
Yeah, we recognize that red color too from the the carpet, eyes wide shut, all the evil magic. You know what I mean? Like that. That's some.
It's crazy. This cannot be accidental. Like they must have known. He must have been getting on people's nerves for months. And so it was all leading up to this.
Well, that whole thing with
and then that was the day. 9/10 was the day. Everything was aligned. So it was, and there was also another kid. This kid, his name was Holly. He killed 2 people online. He killed 2 people in Colorado the same day, and this lady said he was radicalized online, like all these other ones. So they're all online getting influenced. So this whole kind of concept of like handler and putting people into place and all that stuff that I've been talking about, or we've been talking about on Manchurian Candidate, is still, it's happening right now. Like it's happening in the real world. Like you said, it's not abstract.
What we're learning is that,
can you guys hear this?
based on
Yes.
some of the information
We-
we're seeing
we
about
even-
this
okay.
suspect, is that he was radicalized by some extremist network. Sorry, I wanted to get those right. Some extremist network. And the details of that will be down the road, but we want to at least give you that much about maybe mindset for him.
That's Desmond Hawley. He was like a Nazi too. There are people on there that don't know some of the stuff I know, but it's he had pictures of this woman. Her name was Lindsay Suvanarath. She was the Thai Nazi who tried to do a full-on Columbine in New Brunswick in Canada, and she was the last chapter of my book, Global Death Cult. But he had stuff from her, so he was clearly getting close to 09A stuff, if not. We don't know the totality, but based upon his online stuff, pretty dark stuff.
You mentioned 09A again, and I mean, we talked about that before on these episodes, and we also talked about the number 22 in the last episode. But that 09A is like it's a mind control. Oh, he popped out. Well, I'm gonna keep going though. That 09A is a mind controlled script that is loose online for anybody, for it to fall anywhere on anybody's lap, and they, all of a sudden can pick up this. It's not like where you go to the secret society and it's in this one building and you have to get tapped on the shoulder to get this kind of mind control. It is it's set loose on the internet for everyone to fall into, and it radicalizes them, and it's kind of like Satanism, like Levian Satanism, and that type of it's pushed out to just hit everybody, and anybody that's susceptible can fall into that. And there's no like higher leader order. It's just creating this madness, that creates chaos, and that ultimately the higher orders want the chaos so they can do the order abkeo.
Well, I think
Right?
that's related. Some of that spreading is related to like the child trafficking, human trafficking, where people are recruited online, they're led into stuff, and so there's been, you could say, here's the distinction. You can have, say, if you're a Marilyn Manson fan, right? You're
Right.
getting into this negativity. It's pretty dark, but you're not getting recruited into this sort of, that order of, and so that number 9 is very important, but it's like a decentralized network, yet there are grooming agents too for that, right?
You're right. Yes, you're right.
And it just reminds me like a guy who actually got injured because he made a remote control masturbation machine so people could control it. They would watch him online and they just went crazy with it.
It's called teledildonics. There's a word for that.
Oh my God.
Teledildonics. Yeah.
But it's like, I got injured. It was traumatic. Well, some dude's controlling it. But it is the level of where people are coming in, people that are touched with sort of a negativity or darkness, and they're pushing them in to this thing. But it is
Chaos, madness.
chaos magic, and it's like a psychic contagion.
Yes.
Yet, but it doesn't take that many vector points of leadership to spread it out, right?
Right. The internet pushes it, and they can go like to all levels at once, and yeah. But you're right. They do have the Nexions, where they do have the certain individuals that are like really pushing those that want to go and meet up with the crew and go, join
something really profound has happened where they can actually target these people and bring them up online.
Yes.
And possibly even do it. It's Peyton Gendron and that guy Nikita Kasap, if you remember him, he was a Niner. That's like a real 09A term, and he was going to kill the president. He killed his parents. Like it's something very strange. A lot of these guys are like have been handled. I think Gendron was handled by an FBI agent.
If you think about it, though, it is like the perfection of the Manchurian candidate tactics that they've been, this brainwashing and dry cleaning that they do. It's now with the internet technology and all of the, pedo groomers on Roblox and whatever else, like they have this ability to put the grooming on everybody and the mind control on everything. Like before they had to do like a 9/11 or whatever to really shock the world, but now they can like get into your personal DMs and like say, hey, I'm a normal person, when really, even the chat GPT is making people commit suicide and I mean, like it is
it's
really
beyond normal surveillance. It's basically they've gone into something where it's psychological manipulation on like a Philip K. Dick film or something. Well, and they find these young kids that are vulnerable. They don't understand. They haven't been around long enough to understand what's happening, or they're in an influence operation. And one thing that comes to mind is Dan Bongino, who's at the FBI. He's like, I saw something that would shake me to my core. And then he never said what it was. But I think the FBI's behind. Like, if you go, a lot of these guys are FBI, the guys who are like these influence operation type people. And Hoover was a monster, dude. He was an absolute monster. He's behind so many things. He covered up all these assassinations. He helped cover, I mean, it wasn't just the CIA. He helped cover up all those assassinations in the 60s, all the way till when he died at the FBI. So
just one reason, very briefly, why it's so much augmented, right? You could say, you talk about a force multiplier, right? Because before, to recruit somebody like 098, you'd have to, take a long time, right? You'd have to. So part of it is that, number one, like we did that thing on doom scrolling, right, Sean? Is that, so basically the human body maps the cell phone as part of the body. It's like you are, and then if you're the children that are growing up, they are literally have been neurobiologically conditioned into this extension where they can't differentiate between self, other, reflection online. And so it allows such a greater depth of programming. Like I said, the doom scrolling, within a year, it'll shrink your frontal cortex. So this is having direct effect on the nervous system. So yeah, it was good.
Totally. Thank you for saying that. That brings in a lot to think about.
It all ties in together. Like, this is all like you're in a completely new environment where they're clearly watching like the people who are following the Kirk thing and looking over it, and people are moving into place. If you remember, like Eleanor Iselin, her whole plot is to have her son shoot the front runner. This is a political act. The shooting of Charlie Kirk is a political act. It's not just a cultural act. He's close to Trump. He's close to all these other pro-Israel guys. He's the head of an organization that brings in $80 million a year. I mean, that's pretty sizable, even just for a regular company. It's not, I mean, it is a company, it sells stuff. But if you remember, Eleanor she's going to get her husband. He's going to rise gallantly to his feet and lift Ben Arthur's body in his arms and stand in front of the microphones and begin to speak. And then down goes Kirk. And who says he's going to take up the bloody microphone and begin to speak? Ben Shapiro, like, literally said, I'm going to take this bloody microphone. And said, it's literally right out of the Manchurian Candidate.
So evil that Ben Shapiro is such a snake. Oh my God, dude. Wow.
Like, that's his friend. They're supposedly in the right. And they're like, there's all, I mean, leading up to Charlie's death and after, like, that he's going to move in. Charlie wasn't even buried. Like, he moved in right after, like, literally within 24, shameless, not crying either, which is also interesting. Like, no external indice of like sympathy or like, whoa, like, this is creeping me out. Like, you should at least honor the dead for 24 hours or something. But he's just right back on his job like a freaking shark, like an emotionless shark. Like, I'm going to take over this and we're going to do that. Like, how do you know that? Why would you even say that if you didn't think, like, these are tells? Like, why would you even say that if you didn't think you were above like getting shot? Like that's pretty dangerous. Like, somebody just lost his life and his kids. Like, the kids lost their parent. Why would he say that? Like, there's all these tells and stuff that this was a coordinated event. It's not some random. They want to turn it into a patsy.
Well, Netanyahu came out before he was even declared dead. 20 minutes. How did he even get that news in Israel? You know what I mean? Like,
Isn't that a tell in itself that he's
Yes.
telling you something?
Yeah. Wow. And so the trauma is necessary to get that mind control going, all that mass mind control, like for everybody to see Kennedy killed, for everybody to see Robert Kennedy killed, like that, we cry. And that crying emotion is what fuels that, what happens next. Like look at 9/11, then we got the Patriot Act. We're still like, all the presidents keep signing this thing that says we're in a national emergency because 9/11. Like, did Trump sign it yet? I don't know. It's like the 15th. Like every year they so it's that's what's necessary for the whole engine to be turning. It's really sick. Not to mention it happened a day before 9/11,
Right.
when we're all people have finally been waking up. Congressman Ron Johnson, I guess, he was there with Richard Gage, and they were having an event live on 9/11. They're going to talk about, they're really going to get into what happened at 9/11, and nobody cares. Everybody's crying. This other thing happened. Sorry. Put it under the rug for another year. Let's not think about that,
Right. I mean, here it is. This is the new one. This is the new sacrifice. And
Yes.
this is the one we're going to cover. So
Sick.
it's really sick. It's really sick. It's really sad. I mean, this is a guy, free speech, and a young guy. Like, people aren't going to do what he was doing anymore. It's over, like all that free speech stuff and going to campuses, I think, is over. So it's unfortunate. Sad.
The shattered dreams, right? You think about it, at least people were part of it. You know what I mean? He did something. It was from the youth, right? It wasn't an imposition. This guy was a youth, 18 when he started. And that, okay, for conservative youth, right? Whether or not he was earlier misguided in his views or not, this gave them a hope. You can do something in your life. We can actually make a change. We have impact right in the throat, right in the throat. 22, and there you go. So,
yeah. And the throat chakra, because he uses his voice, right? They're going to kill the voice. They're not shooting him in the head. They're killing him in the voice.
Right. It's interesting. And the whole thing, like, nothing to me is settled in this thing. It's been like 5 days, and a 30-06 should have blown his throat out. Like, I don't know where the bullet came from, but that is a big freaking bullet. Like, that's
they didn't recover the bullet too. Did you see that?
Right.
What's that?
They didn't even put up a crime scene, bro. They didn't even. No, there were the cops. We're the cops from Utah. Like, they should have come on site, shut everything down, and try to get to the bottom of it. That didn't happen. That's really crazy.
The cops are loyal. They are all widows' sons. They are all loyal to others. They don't care about us.
The throat is a Masonic thing, right? That's one of the vows, right? The Mason thing, like you cut the tongue and the throat. You know what I mean? So that's
like there was the lion's paw, and then the cutting of with the hoodwink and all that shit when they go through the initiation you're talking about. And then, like, if they go against the order, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he was going against the order. Everybody's talking about, he changed his mind about, he has compassion for the starvation of the children of Gaza, and all of a sudden he doesn't want money from Netanyahu, and then now this happened. So, I mean, I'm not speculating. Don't kill me, guys. It
seems like they were trying to get him back into the fold. You have to look at it within context too, because some people have left the group of like this kind of solidified conservative thing. Like, that Candace Owens left, Tucker's on, like, doing his thing amongst others. So, and Fuentes is more influential now, and all he does is talk about Jews all day. And they tried
that dude's crazy.
Somebody tried to kill him too, showed up with sophisticated, like, with a freaking biker helmet. So, like, whenever they show up with a biker helmet, that's like somebody's doing something smart, because the biker helmet just goes right into like normalcy. Like, nobody would ever think that's out of the normal. He's not wearing like a mask like the Boltner guy who had the fake flesh mask, but like, he just looks like he got off a motorcycle. Like, that to me is sophisticated.
Well, we all know that everybody that rides a motorcycle is a 1%er. They're all criminals, right? Just kidding.
All right. Well, William, do you want to dive into your presentation?
Yeah, we can go back. I mean, I think that all this stuff is relevant. I think that you
Yes.
can see these overlaps between current events and JFK and Manchurian Candidate. The themes in Manchurian Candidate, I think, are still there. And I think that it's interesting because I'm seeing more people talk about the term or the concept of Manchurian Candidate after a lot of my talks. But this is like the guy who had the 201 file on Oswald. It's James Jesus Angleton, and they all kind of made these missions. Him and like George Bush Sr. Like, if people found out what we did, they'd destroy us, you know. And I think George Bush Sr. said if they found out of what we did, they'd chase us down in the streets and hang us. But this is a quote from him: "Counterintelligence. We operate in darkness. If the American people knew half of what we do, they would demand our destruction." So there's like confessionalism in this guy, and I highly recommend this book by Jefferson Morley, The Ghost. I've read the whole thing; it's really good. But this is the whole thing about Oswald, how special Oswald was as a patsy. That he came all the head of counterintelligence had his special file on him, you know. So he had this whole thing like in a 201 file. Like, it's just incredible. Like, this own personal file on his own personal desk, and really covered Oswald. One of the things that I didn't know, that Oswald was actually brought into a COINTELPRO operation. So like, when some of this stuff that was going on, and that's what Morley talks about, is that he's actually involved in this kind of FBI thing about infiltrating the left. So he's deep in the Hall of Mirrors of the intel people. And you'll see these, like this Senator Schweiker, like, Oswald has all the indices of intel all over him, which is true. But like, I don't think he knew how deep he was involved as a pawn and soon to be patsy. But yeah, the time is coming up, like September 15th. We're basically a couple months out for the anniversary. These anniversaries are going to live with us forever too. It'll be September 11th and November 22nd. As long, you know, as long as people, I can read that. This is the guy. This is Senator Schweikert. He worked for the Church Committee. Everywhere you look with Oswald, there are fingerprints of intelligence, and that's at Real Curly on Curly5 on Twitter. But this was like the key element of the Oswald case, is trying to get Ferry, Bannister, Shaw, and Oswald's network together to go over the lone gunman patsy lie, right? So like, this is it. Like, that's what they were doing. And then Garrison was kind of like a lone warrior, man. He was really alone. They did everything. They gave him the full treatment too, like calls, threats. His wife had to leave him, you know, for safety. Like, he was really up against this huge secret network. I mean, he's really an American hero. One of the interesting things about Oswald, in addition to all of his other handlers, like in the movie, Lawrence Harvey has like the handler Yenlo and his mother, but like Oswald had like 5 or 10 handlers, and one is this person, Priscilla Johnson McMillan, who was with Oswald in Russia and interviewed him and Marina, and then wrote a book called Marina and Lee, which kind of established Lee as this hothead, you know, communist. And then it turns out she's being paid by the freaking CIA. Like, these documents that came out this year that they divulged, it shows that she was getting payments from the CIA. And I think that's very important for people to understand, is the power of this culture creation. Like, I do have that book, and like, it's about 1.5 inches. It's like 2 inches. It's incredible. Like, she put in a lot of work for the intel people to maintain that fiction that Oswald shot Kennedy. And I mean, there's just no evidence of him being on the 6th floor and shooting it, and these miracle shots. And he obviously, Kennedy's shot from the front. So people who are on the fence or something like that, there's a lot of good researchers you can listen to and establish all that. But that's her young, you know. That's her and Marina. Here's the book she wrote, The Tormented Love and Fatal Obsession. It's just fiction. Like, this is complete fiction. And here's the New York Times reviews of books and Time magazine, owned by Henry Luce, you know, saying, oh, a remarkable portrait of a man on his way to murder. It's just total fiction, guys. This is the world you live in. It's like complete baloney. And they've established, been in history itself, is in American history post World War II. There's a lot of phony stuff. I don't know if did we talk about the assassination of Miss Payne last time?
No, we didn't.
This is a really good documentary.
That last one with the blue on one face is blue and one face is red.
Like the Frank Sinatra movie poster. Think about that. Same colors.
I think that's the Masonic stuff right there.
Yeah, but same colors. And so the stuff, and then a miraculous book. It's a miracle. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it is a miracle. It's so much bullshit.
Yeah, it's total bullshit.
It's a miracle you're going to buy this load of horseshit. No, but, okay.
Anyway, like, it is just incredible. The handler. So Ruth Payne this is a really good. It's Max Good. I've interviewed him, but it just shows how she was like an asset. She's the one who picks up Lee Henry Harvey Oswald and drives him from New Orleans to Dallas and gets him a job at the book depository. So she's a key component. She's actually involved in the Warren Commission, which really probably could be renamed the Dulles Commission, because Dulles is the kind of kingpin in the background handling everything. And the fact that McCloy and Dulles are on there should have, I mean, the insiders, they're like probably guffawing over plates of foie gras and martinis, like that they're actually sitting on this freaking commission. Because if you know them, they're just like full on Rockefeller people. They are part of the Rockefeller, machine. But this is just such a good, it's like the link. She passed away in the last week or two. So it's this important person. She passed away at 92. I think she took a lot of secrets to her grave. And actually, you want to talk about fiction, her house is like a historical landmark in Irving, Texas, where you can go and walk through, and and it's kind of like the sixth floor depository, because they're fake. I'm telling you, they're both basically fake. They're basically fake history that's been set up to establish this whole ruse that Oswald did it. And they're still extant. So this is how long-term their thinking is. They're going to keep telling this lie forever and establish it and put resources, like serious resources, into establishing that lie. And I think it goes back how we finished off the last one, where these guys acknowledged they were in for total power and that they're all going to hell. And they belong that, because you want to talk about mind control or mind raping or the rape of the soul. That's a theme within the very last part of Manchurian Candidate. These lies, like, people get deceived by them. They're weak-minded, or they're not as experienced. They're more naive, so they believe these things. But this woman was one of the things you'll find, like, these are incredible pictures. This is the kids of Oswald and the mother, and then Marina. But this is another one. This guy is friends on the right. I forgot his name. He's Dutch or something. But he's friends with de Mohrenschildt, who's another one of Oswald's handlers. And that's Oswald's mother. De Mohrenschildt, if you read Family of Secrets, I forgot the author right now. De Mohrenschildt is a white Russian. He's heavily involved in the oil industry. He's friends with Jacqueline Bouvier, JFK's wife, when they were in kind of pre-World War II New York City. Like, this guy's totally connected. And he's another one of Oswald's handlers. Like, he wrote a book about it. And then as they were starting to do the investigations, Church Committee and things like that, there were a lot of assassinations, and there's some really interesting exchanges between him and George Bush Sr. And he's kind of pleading for his life. Like, de Mohrenschildt saying, and this is from the book Family of Secrets, he's kind of saying, I never talked. I've never done anything wrong. I'm on board. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. I don't remember them verbatim, but then he ends up blowing his head off with a shotgun, supposedly. So this is another so-called suicide. Right before he goes to testify, like classic stuff, like Johnny Rosselli or some of these other characters. And this is the really good book about it. His name's William Oltmans. One of the things, this is kind of like one of the lost stories about JFK, but Willem Oltmans is in the movie JFK. So Oliver Stone kind of brought him in for a very small role. I forgot who he played. Maybe he played de Mohrenschildt. But I recommend this book too, Walking the Razor's Edge, The Dutchman and the Baron. and it's kind of a kinked out story about the JFK assassination, because Oldman's and DeMorenshield were lovers too. Like, it's weird, man. It's like one of those weird things. One of the things about Ruth Paine is one of her old friends is this woman Bancroft, right? She is this. They spent time before World War II. They were like friends traveling around Europe. They're carousing. They're kind of free lovers, and they're kind of like almost 60s type people without the drugs and the new music and stuff like that. But they were kind of like flapper types or something like that. And she's with Paine. And guess who this person, Bancroft, later on, after she's still close with Ruth Paine all the time, she later goes on to become the secretary for Alan Dulles. So there's a direct tie between Dulles and her and Ruth Paine and Harvey Oswald and MK Ultra. Dulles starts MK Ultra in 53. And she didn't really like whitewash anything. These are deliberately kept out of the story of JFK. She literally wrote a book about her life called Autobiography of a Spy. So she's a spy with Ruth Paine. Debutante writer, confidant, secret agent, the story of her extraordinary life. She did have an extraordinary life. She was involved, and she was Dulles's lover. So you have like this connection of these two lovers and then Paine, which is left out of the JFK story. It's a crucial component. And I do think that all these stories are kind of like massaged and manipulated. Like, they don't want this to come out. They don't want the Dulles connection to Paine come out ever. And Ruth Paine is also kind of she's an heir to kind of like Mayflower type money. And her husband's involved in a lot of like defense industries, and it gets weirder and weirder. They're actually kind of close to this whole thing of Andre Puharich and the Nine too. They're like, there's weird connections between that, if you remember that story. But it's just one of these kind of like parapolitical things about the JFK assassination that they always leave out. There she is, like, extraordinary person involved in trying to kill Hitler. And they call it the July 20 plot, or they call it the Valkyrie plot. We call it Valkyrie for some reason because of the movie, I think. But Bancroft recruited by the OSS, and both worked and had a romantic relationship with Alan Dulles. He's the central figure. Like, he's pretty much the operational central figure all the way around the JFK assassination, and really the 50s and the mind control and all that. Like, he's wearing a lot of different hats. And the fact that he's friends with Ewan Cameron too is very telling. And that whole Ewan Cameron trajectory up to McGill and all that is really something else.
What about his brother and the whole
John Foster? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like I was. There's a lot going on, and I don't know, like, if there's some bloodline stuff there, and if he's there on purpose because of that.
Who, Dulles is there because of bloodline stuff?
I guess I was speaking about the other one, but I think I messed
John
up.
Foster?
Yeah, I think.
But they're both kind of intertwined. I mean, they're very close in their things. They're basically operational guys for the American Empire. They're involved in post World War I negotiations. They're all over the place. Like, they really are extraordinary people. I don't know how good they are, but they're involved in so many different things. And close, they're part of. Dulles was a lawyer, went to Princeton, and was a white shoe lawyer for Sullivan and Cromwell, which is really the kind of legal arm of the Rockefeller family. So he's like in business with them, literally. And the overlaps with George Bush and the whole kind of, war's a racket, the kind of fascist attempted overthrow over thing. They're all intertwined that. So he's a very hard writer and very close to the Nazis in not a comfortable way. Like, there's talks about fusing of finances, and that he's involved in repatriating a lot of money that was taken out of Germany during the war and then brought back in. But that's a whole, it's kind of an interesting historical background story because it's often overlooked, but
But see, Mary Bancroft, if you look, these are like almost American royalty, right?
Yeah,
these are blue bloods, right? She's in a blue blood it's not, brought up that much. But just reading through that, you're like, you look top to bottom, just right there at the very apex. Maybe not the super apex, but the very elite society.
Yeah, she's like intermarried with people who were presidents, grandsons of presidents, and stuff like that. But even from just Wikipedia, it's like from 26 to 32, Mary Bancroft resided in New York City, spent much of that time attending socials at an apartment of a friend from Massachusetts, Ruth Payne, Forbes Payne, who was later, Oswald's handler, and Payne's husband, George Lyman Payne. That's another story. Then they went out, Ruth Forbes Payne, known more simply as Ruth Payne, where she met Swiss accountant, became her second husband. She's like intertwined with Payne. She knows actually Carl Jung too very well. Bancroft does. So it's kind of like, and Jung knew of Dulles. So it's kind of like a interesting background. But this guy's name, Hans Bernd Javesius, is kind of like, was the intermediary between the anti-Hitler forces in Germany and like the external U.S. forces who kind of arranged for that Operation Valkyrie. So she was involved in very heavy duty stuff. And so was like Dulles was involved, like as a real, ruthless baller of like a guy who overthrows countries and stuff like that. Like he's later involved in Operation Ajax, where they kicked out Mossadegh in 53. So like he starts MK Ultra and then goes and starts this world thing where he starts overthrowing governments and stuff. Like he's actively involved. She's recruited, but it's just this. She's friends with Dulles's wife, Clover. Then she became friends with Henry Luce, and like Time Life magazine would later buy the Zapruder film. I mean, it just goes on, but it's all in her book. She like reveals a lot in her book about Dulles and stuff like that. There's Hans Bernd Javesius. This is the aftermath of the bombing. And then there's David Ferry. That's another handler of Oswald, this strange guy who lost all his hair. He has alopecia. All that hair on his face and everything is fake. It's totally fake. And he's a pet. He liked teen boys. I don't know if that's a pederast or what. He's like, that was his, he's gay, I guess. This is the infamous picture. And this is from 1955. So you have this really heavy duty thing about Oswald and Ferry together, and they're both circled here. It's pretty incredible. Even when he was in New York, Oswald had this really lengthy psychological assessment made by this guy Hubertus Albertus or whatever. I forgot his name, but like it's just incredible. He's the MK Ultra connected. This guy's a Knight of Malta. Clay Shaw, this is the guy who's arrested by Garrison, and then he always claims his innocence the whole time, but he's not innocent at all. He literally works for like a General Thrasher or something in the U.S. He's very much networked with military intelligence. He was a private, received his commission, rose through the ranks, became deputy chief to General Charles Thrasher. Shaw continued to serve with Thrasher in France, then Belgium. 46, he had attained the rank of major and received decorations from 3 nations, Belgium, France, and the United States. So this is a guy who's overseeing like...
Isn't Shaw one of the characters in Manchurian Candidate?
Yeah, Raymond Shaw. It is interesting that you bring that up, yeah. Interesting name tie. Raymond Shaw is the lead character. He's the Manchurian Candidate.
Right.
But this guy had multiple names. That's the whole... They tried to... Clay Bertrand was Clay Shaw. They were trying to figure out. That was one of the things they got him in court. Is like, are you using a fake name? And they said yes.
Yeah, maybe Raymond Shaw is like some kind of anagram for something else, and like whatever. I don't know.
Nothing would surprise me.
Yeah.
They want Oswald. This is the thing that one of the recent things. If you see up here on the top 2025 release under President John F. K. assassination, some of these files had already been pre-released. Apparently, I don't know if this was one, but this is one. They're like, "Hey, we got to shut up Oswald. Make sure none of this stuff comes out." It's like, advised at a reception last night that local UPI reporter filed a story based on local research and interview with a retired Marine officer who claimed to be Lee Harvey Oswald's commander, and that Oswald was recruited by the CIA while stationed with the Marines in Japan in the 50s. press officer, a chance to comment, suggested that much, if not all, papers of Oswald's personal history have been declassified for use by media. As part of overall Kennedy assassination declassified. It's all recalled that UPI reporters and some also had already been written, hence as a long shot at keeping a CIA-related story from surfacing in Japan. So they're trying to keep the story from surfacing in Japan. And they don't want to. So there's all, this is kind of an interesting thing. They don't want the fact or the knowledge that he's affiliated with the CIA to come out. It's pretty incredible. This is like the new kind of MK Ultra documents that came out at the end of the year last year. You can see them at the National Security Archive, and they're pretty interesting. And then this is We Were Controlled, about James Jesus Angleton and all these characters. The thing is what these guys posit, and this is pretty far out, is that Oswald is an experimental subject, and there were two methods that they used on him: radio hypnotic intracerebral control, RHIC, and electronic dissolution of memory. And that they both Oswald and Ruby were involved, and there was part of like a stock market swindle that was going on. It's crazy.
So wait, they would erase minds with electroshock therapy, basically?
Yeah.
And then they would like do the voice to skull stuff. Is that what the other one?
I don't know. They would do what like Delgado was doing. You know,
oh, like he had an implant, like like the bowl last time we talked about.
Yeah, it's an intercerebral, and so that was. I mean, this is the technology, right? That is actually
of the era, yeah.
But no, I'm saying like this stuff is now in the cell towers, right? It's in your whatever. I'm not to freak people out, but so this stuff though. I mean, so basically you get these operating frequencies. I mean, it's a little bit blunt though, right? I mean, it's not like a fine-tuned thing, but you can. I mean, you put them in a mood. I mean, once you get that, depending on if someone has sort of a not very well established identity with certain triggers, you can literally just, go. You know what I mean? Press the button. It's like, so anyways.
It's pretty crazy to think about how dark it gets with Lee Harvey Oswald. There's something about him. Did this involve mind control? Lee Harvey Oswald clearly was not unfamiliar with the term. In the summer of 1962, he came to the office of New Orleans Assistant District Attorney Edward Gillen and asked him about LSD. He told Gillen that he had a supplier, inquired about its legality, and made several references to Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Historians note that at the time, the CIA served as one of the few suppliers of the psychoactive substance, emphasizing that it was used in human experimentation and mind control among Marines at the Atsugi Naval Air Base, where Oswald served in Japan. One Marine from Oswald unit even confessed that he had been one of the human subjects. One analyst suggested that Oswald making himself visible in this way on this topic with a public official may have been another attempt to establish an image for himself as a dope-taking commie simp. Of course, Oswald may have had a genuine curiosity about the drug, but we know that they were doing drug testing at Atsugi before Oswald got there in 1957. And he was also in the hospital for strange periods of time there and in Minsk. And like he apparently was hospitalized for a venereal disease, which is very strange. Like that's not what people get hospitalized for. But this book, We Were Controlled, it's written by some guy, Larry Lawrence. Nobody knows. I don't know his real name. It's a fake name. But he really kind of was a super paranoid guy saying Oswald. Something was weird about Oswald. And then Kerry Thornley was one of the really first guys who was, this is another handler of Oswald, who went on to be like a Discordian. So he's friends with Robert Anton Wilson. And he would later say he had an implant. You can't really take him at face value, but he kind of knew the nomenclature of all this stuff. Like he said, I was implanted. They're influencing me. They're following me around. But he wrote this book about idle words about Oswald before the assassination. So it's really incredible. And then this COINTELPRO, like Oswald is part of an active unit of COINTELPRO. The agency took the lead outside the country in the COINTELPRO attack on the Fair Play for Cuba committee, and its most famous member, Lee Harvey Oswald. The FBI and the CIA would work together. Angleton used CIA mail surveillance to feed the COINTELPRO beast. Like the CIA and the FBI are working together, and Lee Harvey is a front man. After Oswald did the killing, Carey wrote another book. So these are like books are lost. Like some of this stuff is never brought up, but it should be. But he's always talking about Carey Thornley. This is a handler of Oswald. Carey Thornley in his later years came to believe they had been implanted with a mind control device as part of a CIA orchestrated conspiracy. He specifically identified E. Howard Hunt as a key figure involved and was his mysterious New Orleans contact, Gary Kirstein, brother-in-law, acting as a handler in these operations. This belief evolved through the 70s and 80s, tying into suspicions of MKUltra-style experiments during his Marine Corps service, possibly at sites like Atsugi, where such CIA activities were documented. He was at Atsugi, too, Thornley was. He described personal experiences like hearing radio broadcasts in his head and a pinch in his spinal column, affecting his energy and audio hallucinations, which he attributed to implanted surveillance and control devices. Maybe he's schizophrenic. Maybe he was treated. Maybe they schismogenified this guy. That's like one of Hans's terms, schismogenesis. He also wrote the Dreadlock Recollections. Really, I mean, it has this kind of element of truth to it, but it's so out there, it's hard to believe it.
I just sorry to interrupt, but just to say that actually the Oswald technology they're mentioning in that is technically can be done non-invasively through you're doing it's called neuromodulation technology, which is what it is: wireless communication, RF, BCI, neuromodulation, the exact systems that are being run right now, right? Radio hypnotic. So basically it's a combination of software controlled receiving and sending messages from the brain. So that particular technology, if it's going back to Oswald, I'm saying that that's basically what the 6G and the BCI and all that is. So it's just throwing it out there. But
it's incredible that they are even making this allegation about Oswald, but he does act strange, and he is handled. He has handlers his whole, like all the way from when he got back into the U.S. to when he shows up in Dallas, he's being handled. Like, it's really incredible. Anyway, so this is part of the story. We Were Controlled is it. And Thornley's kind of like emulating Hunt, by the way, is rumored to be this guy, Raoul, who was James Earl Ray's handler. For some reason, Ray was able to escape Memphis, Tennessee after the death of MLK. And if you remember, he did some kind of hopscotching movement. Like he went to Montreal in Europe. I forgot where he ended up, where he got caught, but like he was able to be on the run. And this is a guy who just got out of jail with no money. He's one of those guys that it's just like these other assassins, like they can bounce around in weird ways. Nobody can explain it. Where are you getting your money? Where are you able to do this? How are you financing yourself? But so E. Howard Hunt is a very dark figure. Like that's a whole nother story. Like he's also involved in the Bremer case. If you remember the Bremer case, I think if we did that presentation about Catcher in the Rye, Bremer was the guy who tried to kill George Wallace, another political assassination, right? Who did it help? And the rumor is, and they denied this rumor, they had to deny it, but the rumor is that E. Howard Hunt wrote Bremer's fake diary. And so even in today's assassination, or this week's Kirk's, apparently this guy's writing stuff, the so-called Patsy or whatever, Robinson, which is actually kind of an occult name, believe it or not. I think the Robinson in the English goes back to when they used to dance, when they used to have the kind of pagan rituals where they would dance around the pole, the maypole. Yeah. Like the Robinson, that's where it derives from. It's interesting. But there was real suspicions whether Bremer actually wrote his own diary or somebody else. And we know that E. Howard Hunt can just drop a book very easily. Like for him, it was not a challenge. He had like 25 times, Pulp Fiction novels or so.
And there was that book that Hans mentioned earlier that showed up, and supposedly a day before Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Right. The thing shows up. Yeah, this new book.
And I don't know what it contains, but it's probably a bunch of mind control.
We'll see. This is an interesting article. It was published, "The Most Important Man on the Planet," and it's Adam Go Rightly's article. He's talking about, he knows about Kerry, and he's written some. I've interviewed him a couple times, but there's a 1983 Rolling Stone expose revealed that during the late 50s and early 60s, the CIA conducted MK Ultra experiments at Atsugi Air Force Base, where both Oswald and Thornley had been stationed. Atsugi, it should be noted, was just one of 2 locations outside the U.S. where the CIA stored LSD. The other storage facility was Manila, where it so happens Thornley was also stationed during his overseas duty. Curiously enough, E. Howard Hunt, according to his biography, was also stationed at Atsugi during the same time period as Oswald and Thornley. This is a heavy duty baller. E. Howard Hunt was the head of domestic you're not supposed to have domestic CIA operations in the U.S., but he was the head of U.S. domestic operations, and then I think he was the head of the CIA outpost in Mexico City too, right around the time of the JFK assassination. So he shows up in Watergate too. So he's really something else. Was Lennon shot to order? This is an interesting article that goes into this brain stuff. You can look at, they were writing about this stuff back in the day. And they have, you can see this is Andrew Tyler. You can see this kind of brain stem technology.
That image is very creepy. Like whatever that device is being placed on the head of that person, that is some scary stuff right there.
Notice the ads, right? Black Sabbath and the Boomtown Rats with these 2 little mannequin creatures. You know, it's right. Yes, that's great that it's all in the line.
Wow.
The intro paragraph: bizarre theories linking the assassination of John Lennon to U.S. Naval and Air Force intelligence agencies are gaining credence both in the U.S. and in Britain. Like, it's crazy. Like, so it's military stuff.
I just wanted to bring up that there's a big white box that says want something. It's only 22 per word in NME classifieds. What is that? 22. Okay. And it's right next to that other image.
And the bottom is play lead guitar within hours.
Yeah, just listen to
I think that when you look at all the evidence, I think that Oswald was tampered with. I mean, you can call it MK Ultra or something, but he was controlled and tampered with he was selected from a very early age and probably given the full mind control suite, like on everything, LSD, hypnosis, torture, the whole bit, psychological programming. And that's why he became the patsy. And that's the story that isn't in the JFK, narrative. Even amongst the JFK, was assassinated by a conspiracy crew, they leave it out. This is the guy that JFK fired in 1961, and then Oswald supposedly took a shot at him in 1963 through a glass window. I forgot his name. What is it? Walker. And then it ties into this whole thing because Curtis LeMay Walker said to inspire the James Mattoon Scott of the movie 7 Days in May and Ripper and Strangelove. And then 7 Days in May is directed by Frankenheimer, who directed Manchurian Candidate, right? So these real figures are influencing fictional characters that people know. People know this Dr. Strangelove, Ripper from Dr. Strangelove, right? Which came out in 1964 after Kennedy was shot. This dude never married. He liked to troll dudes in bathrooms. They found out later that he was a bathhouse marauder, bathroom marauder, or something like that. I don't even know.
Just like Fauci. Oh,
shit. This guy wrote great books. William Turner. You can see this. He wrote a great one about Sirhan and RFK, and the foreword here is by Oliver Stone. But he has some really interesting stuff going on. But this is like the links between Bannister and Oswald, and evidence of association. This is all, and then other witnesses include Bannister's wife, who found Oswald-related material, staffers Vernon Gerds, and Tommy Baumler. Who's Tommy Baumler? That's the guy who incorporated the Process Church of Final Judgment in New Orleans when it was their headquarters. So they're around this too. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't write this stuff. So that's kind of like one of those known kind of crypto facts, is that the process church bounced from the top of the Yucatan to New Orleans. So New Orleans was their headquarters around that time, and they're up to no good.
New Orleans has been like the seat of dark occult magic and witchcraft forever, like since the beginning of America.
It's really dark. That's where a lot of that African stuff came over.
Yeah.
Damien Eccles lives there now, which makes perfect sense.
That figures, yeah.
It really is. It really is. And what's that movie?
Marie Laveau was there. Like
yeah,
all
right.
all the other, and Hans and I talked about it with the PSYOP Cinema guys. We were looking at this movie that had all of this African black magic, and we were looking into this, like Papa what's his face, and like I forget all the names now, but I mean
Papa
Legba, yeah, right, dude, right. And the Loa and the connection with the spirits and all of that, and they become possessed by demons, like when they do their cutting of chickens. Like it's really
go watch the movie Angel Heart.
That's what we were talking about. Yes, okay. Angel Heart. Yeah, it was a great movie. Really one of the best.
New Orleans and just all that stuff's in there, man. Really dark, like black magic.
Yeah. And he was also split personality. Like he had he was one person, then he's another person, and he doesn't remember what he used to be. It looked like so that has that whole kind of.
He has amnesia. He doesn't know until the very end, right?
Yes. And then that's when but still, it's like the idea of not knowing your own other self is part of this whole thing. With the Manchurian Candidate doesn't recognize what he's doing when he's taken over and has the other personality in charge,
Precisely.
Slight tangent, but John Rebenuk, aka Dr. John, right? So he was actually involved in voodoo. It was some kind of a shooting when he was a younger man. I forget, someone's girlfriend, this and that. And so he was a pretty, he was involved to a certain extent, lesser extent. They say he just did it as a homage to Dr. John, the actual voodoo priest, right? The famous voodoo priest but yeah, he was, I don't know his ethnicity, Rebenuk, but that's, he was, anyways, just that music, and that's where that ties in, with some of these things. So
it influenced a lot of music. Like it influenced even Elvis and stuff, that type of, magic. And the Rolling Stones was using that voodoo beats, and like it, it's important. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Sorry.
Tommy Baumler, attorney in New Orleans who drafted the incorporation papers for the Process Church. And he was described by former process member Timothy Wiley, who's process number 3, right? So it's the 2 starters, and then Wiley was 3rd in charge, as an enormously fat, gruff, cynical, rude, and extremely funny. Baumler was also a bishop of the American Orthodox Catholic Church. So he's part of this fake Catholic church with Ferry and William Joseph Bryan. And that fake priest is at the very end of the assassin's dressed like a priest. So it's like a known disguise of these guys. They put on their priest habits, and people think they're actually priests, and they're just total dirtbags and like pederasts and all this stuff like that. Baumler was a bishop of the American Orthodox Catholic Church, a Freemason, a hypnotist, and a racist. And he's linked to David Ferry and Jack Markin, who worked in Guy Bannister's office. And that's how, if you remember Oliver Stone's JFK, it's how it starts, is they're trying to trace and tie Oswald to Bannister and multiple doorways and all these other people around there. And then Bannister beats the crap out of Jack Martin's character, and Martin's a character. These guys are all characters, but like hypnotism's everywhere, guys. It's in the case, and that's part of the mind control black bag, So Baumler's a really interesting guy. If people find pictures of him or anything about Baumler, send them to me, because he's an important part of the JFK story too. These are just things from like, this is a clip from Thornley's book, just being talked about Oswald. Like it's weird. He was with him at Atsugi, which we know is they're doing mind control stuff. And then they go to El Toro Marine Base, and Thornley's there too. Like, you cannot write this stuff. But he's like talking about writing about the stuff, and he's also in the French Quarter of New Orleans at the same time. He's in the strangest places at the strangest time. It's almost like he's shadowing Oswald for some reason. Like, it's just so strange. 59, I was stationed at El Toro Marine Base. Another Marine in that unit was Lee Harvey Oswald. We became acquainted. So that's after Atsugi. So then he goes to Atsugi, where Oswald served previous time. I wanted to write a book, understand delusion with the turn to Marxism. Then I first intended to write A Poor Man's Ugly American. Then my young friend George Held traveled from our home in Whittier to the New Orleans French Quarter, where Oswald would show up. And I continued to work on the first draft of The Idle Warriors. That's what it's about. That was the one about Oswald.
You see his ideology. He's like sort of pro-Soviet. Then he read Atlas Shrugged aboard a boat. He changed, overnight.
That's all it takes.
Crazy stuff.
Ayn Rand is powerful, man.
Yeah, this is about. I think this is from. I don't know if it's from Bowert's or it's. I think this may be Keith's World Control, Mind Control, but Estabrooks, who's a big wig in hypnosis, right? He wrote the book Hypnosis. He wrote Hypnosis, a tremendous element in the weapons of war or something, a 50s article, like crazy. Estabrooks even offered the suggestion that Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby could very well have been performing through hypnosis. Estabrooks quite possibly would have been in the position to know. Yeah, he would. And that's from Operation Mind Control. Guess what I found out about Operation Mind Control since our last talk? Like, the two main books are Bowert's book and Marx's book. Guess who wrote the intro to Operation Mind Control?
Who?
Richard Condon. Yeah, so he's
No way.
Yeah, so he's tied
Wow.
into. Yeah,
Holy
really
shit.
crazy. Let me see if I can bring that up.
What do you think about Bowert's book? Because I know there's a guy, I'm not recalling his name. He said he worked with Bowert for many years. He's bringing that material out. I know there's like this research edition. What do you? But the guy who was very closely associated with Bowert, he kept bringing up, it's use Marshall McLuhan. The media is the message. Just create your own narrative, and then you'll be. Well, okay, that may free you from mind control, but it seemed a little bit lightweight. But what do you think about that book overall?
I've heard critiques about Bowert, but
Okay.
I mean, you have to. I think you have to put them in the context of where they were and what they were able to access. Like, it's pre-internet. But I think Bowert was. I think it's pretty good. Like, there's a lot of things in there. There's that Fletcher Prudy, who did a lot of work on JFK's, involved in this. So you see these overlaps. I don't know. I've heard people like really critique this, but this is Condon's intro right here, and he likens it. It's kind of an interesting intro in that he likens kind of the state of human beings as Grok the clown, who, having had his legs broken in 8 places by his father for professional reasons, to be certain the child would grow up walking grotesquely so as to ensure his eminence as a clown. So kind of like somebody's deliberately crippled. And then he likens the mind control stuff to deliberately crippling humanity. And it's really, he ends it up as, there's an alternative. We can all forevermore be transformed in the image of Croc. The threatening state of American political leadership over the last 15 years seemed to murmur that the magnetic and attractive personalities, Charlie Kirk, might rather not resist the destruction of democratic institutions by effectively exploiting these shocking gains into the control of minds. It might even be wise to consider Walter Bowert's real evidence herein. Then to do what we can to protect ourselves if that proud right with the love of freedom has not been atrophied by the latest communications techniques. This is what you're talking about. It's like these communications techniques. And there's an alternative is we can just be like Rock the Clown, like a perpetually injured person.
That's some weird.
That pretty is profound, huh?
Like that intro is kind of seems like a little bit of a uploading consciousness manipulation. It's a bit odd, isn't it? I mean, like his I don't know. That's I'm
just opening with the image of abusing a child so that the adult is changed for their benefit. What is that?
I mean, that's Robert Heinlein, right? Grokking. So
Oh, that too, Grok.
it's a
right,
Robert
yeah.
Heinlein reference, or subconscious at least.
Right. But I mean, yeah, to fully grok something is to know it. You know, you only know something when you've experienced the pain of it, right? And I mean, that's what SRA is. The satanic ritual abuse is breaking children to create a robot. And that's the same kind of trauma-based mind control. Trauma-based, like you breaking a kid's legs on purpose. And then, you know, and then I think about, and he's talking about, oh, we can have this for the whole society. And then it reminds me of like what Kurt Barker said the dark occult wants for people is to start amputating themselves. They want to make it popular to.
They're doing it right now. That's the whole like tranny stuff, right?
Well, that's it, right? Yeah, they start with the most important,
breasts,
sex organs and stuff, but then eventually, it'll be computer programmers don't need legs, and people that work with their ears don't need their eyes and stuff, and it like it's gonna get weird. It's
it's pretty freaking weird now. But this is one of this intro article by Condon shows how he grokked the whole situation, right? He understands. That's why the Manchurian Candidate.
That's why he wrote Manchurian Candidate. Right. He was chosen for that, right?
Whatever happened, he understood things, man. He really did, and maybe that's why, I don't really know why, but maybe that's why this guy Boert asked Condon to write the intro. Usually, that's what happens. The author says, "Hey, will you write an intro for me or something?"
Just for fun, just want to check out. There wasn't this actual guy, Grok the Clown. Can you see it? If you could,
no, I can bring it up.
I just brought up that screen.
Wow,
look, this guy is that. Have you seen that?
I have to remove this.
He's got to put it up. He's got to click a button.
Pretty.
Whoa!
You look at it. It's pretty. Look at that. This pretty trippy, right?
That's nightmare fuel, man.
He was supposed to be the greatest clown in the world.
So was his legs broken as a kid? Was that a real story?
Is that a real story?
I bet it's true. Grok, Grok was born. Yep. King of clowns, Europe's greatest clown.
Born Charles Adrian Wetak. He really was a real person.
Wow.
It doesn't say anything about his legs.
The greatest of Europe's clowns.
And what does X use for their AI to grok? They, I guess it's taken from Heinlein, but still, maybe it's this. Maybe it's spelled a little different, I guess. But
so it does
Grok's career is commemorated with the Grok d'Or, an annual competition for young circus artists, which first took place in 2003. He's been in tons of films.
Every rabbit hole is like so deep and extensive. Yeah. Like you just fall away into all these rabbit holes, man. But
his legs were not broken. I mean, they just don't mention that. And he retired to a 50.
Wikipedia won't.
Well, no, it looks like that may just be. But he's pretty creepy looking, right? I mean, agree. He's very creepy.
Yes.
He retired to a 50-bedroom mansion that he called Grok Shea Grok or whatever. Oh, anyways, okay.
Here's more of Condon's intro. Like, in an epigraph to this book, Zbigniew Brzezinski measures the political probabilities of mind control use when he says exploiting the latest communications techniques to manipulate emotion and control reason. Today, our secret police and our military establishment have demonstrated in Vietnam and elsewhere, examined by Boert herein, the powers to create assassins out of our children.
Oh, so real quick,
that goes back to your intro. Hey, Hans, it's your intro. There's been all of these shooters this year that aren't even out there. Like, this is what he's saying, I think.
By the way, I just looked up. Grok's legs were not broken. He was known for his acrobatics.
Oh, the opposite.
He would jump through chairs, backflips, and he was like a gymnast. You know what I mean? Like an acrobat. Wow. So that's a complete lie.
No,
really odd.
No, you got to reread this. It's his father had his legs broken. So the Grok's father the father of Grok the Clown having his legs broken.
But then why does it say we end up like Grok?
Father did that to the son. I thought that's what that was.
I think you're right. Yeah. Broke Grok's leg and to be certain the child grown up walking grotesquely. Wow, that's crazy.
But that's the opposite. It's like it's the inversion, and to your great hero Grok, we're gonna break its legs and he's gonna be deformed. Like it's anyway, never mind.
This is really interesting. Like, this is the tie-in with this whole Manchurian Candidate. Were the assassins programmed to forget they did it, or were they programmed to do it? We may never know, for they stand bewildered, idiotically grinning for the cameras. So I think he's like insinuating that these clowns are like these assassins. They're like evil clowns, kind of like jokers. This is a whole nother show, like just a whole nother show on freaking Operation Mind Control.
Dude, wow.
It's a great book.
Yeah, whoa.
These guys really thought about it. That's the whole thing, you know? They really did. Really crazy. But all these, like, I mean, I don't even know if I have it in my slides, but one of the key elements of the whole Garrison investigation and the criminal process was to tie all these guys together, right? So Shaw, Ferry, Bannister, and Oswald. And there was a sighting of Shaw, Ferry, and Oswald together at some state hospital kind of outside of New Orleans. It was Clinton State Hospital. Well, you start doing research, it's like tied into MK Ultra experiments, right? And then they also had a lot of things going on at Tulane, which is pretty close to downtown New Orleans. There was a guy there, Heath. What was Heath's specialty? Implants. He was experimenting with implants. You can look this up. This is not like secretive stuff. He was experimenting with implants like Delgado. And so, like Delgado, like I think I've said this before, he said the experiments were done. And why were they trying to get Oswald into a job at a hospital? That's the whole thing. But then when you realize these hospitals partially are fronts, it makes perfect sense that they want him to get a job because he can be monitored. It's very dark. That's where Chapman worked, by the way. He worked at a hospital supposedly as a super, you know. That's supposedly what he did. So these are all crazy connections that are just like, wow, this is off the charts.
Yeah, really, dude. Wow. So this page here talks about the Freemasons supervised by Superintendent what is the Scottish Rite's chief psychiatrist? Like the research team composed of Anslinger, the head of wasn't Harry Anslinger the guy that was the head of the Treasury who outlawed cannabis? And they're talking about how they got a potent extract called TD from cannabis, and like what is going on? I mean, there's so much information in my eyes right now. It's just like very tough to like, holy crap.
It's mind-blowing stuff. Like nobody in the I've had like 25 JFK experts on, really smart, bright people. They never talk about MK Ultra's connections to this stuff and the hypnotism. It's like you can't see what you don't understand. So they overlook the Baumler process connections, the hypnotism, Ferry, and Oswald, and all this stuff. And Esterbrook's is a very important figure in this whole thing. Like he goes way back. I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this. Have you guys ever seen the 500-page FOIA of communications between Esterbrook's and J. Edgar Hoover? It'll blow your freaking mind, dude. It's unbelievable. Jeez. Yeah, Colin Ross wrote The CIA Doctors. I don't know where he got it from or if he got it from somebody, but it's literally Esterbrook's teaching J. Edgar Hoover and what was his gay lover's name? You know, back in the day, you didn't have emails where you could see everybody who CC'd on the email. They would take a cover page, and then everybody who's a person of import at this whatever organization you were in, they put their name in a dash, and then they check it whether they saw it. And you could see that all the other people at the FBI are following Esterbrook's when he's telling them, hey, you can hypnotize people and like turn them into agents. And oh God, I can't remember, Jeff Yeager. Anyway, this is like this long exchange between Esterbrook's, mentioned right here, and J. Edgar Hoover and his buddies in 1935. Like they are literally talking about it. And you can see Edgar Hoover's wheels of his engines as he understands. He starts to figure out what exactly Esterbrook's is trying to tell him. Then he starts asking questions, like smarter questions back to Esterbrook's. Can you use this in police procedures? Can you secret things in people's minds? So you can see J. Edgar Hoover, and then you see all these assassinations in the 60s, and J. Edgar Hoover's right there, baby. He's always on site. The FBI somewhere around. he knows exactly what the funk is going on with all those assassinations in the 60s, including Oswald, James Earl Ray, and Sirhan Sirhan. He knows all that stuff.
This is incredible.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I wish we could read that 500 pages. Like,
I'll find it. I have it somewhere.
Find it somewhere. Okay, good. Thank you.
It might even be on my desktop. It's an astonishing. I mean, it's a show in itself because you're seeing this kind of winnowing function where you can see J. Edgar Hoover's, because they didn't have anything else other than to send papers back to each other. They didn't have emails, so he's like, and then like, Estabrook is like, I'm at Colgate. I can meet you in DC and we can have a talk face to face. And Edgar was like, yeah, let's set it up. And then like freaking Estabrooks would drive down. Like, these are the weird connections between these MK Ultra things that people overlook. Like, Dulles knew Ewan Cameron personally. Like, this is really important. They're personal associates. It's not like they're some kind of separate things. Like, Dulles is with Estabrooks in Germany after the war, like interrogating people, like trying to figure stuff out.
It's all one big thing, you know. It's all it's the you know, the global satanic force just like dominating the world. Like, it's,
but once they figured it out, they did it. Oh yeah, this is
like on everybody, right? On the whole public, right? Yeah.
This is just one example. I don't have the whole 500 at the ready. I can probably find it, but let me bring this up. This is one example. So this is this guy Greenwald at the Black Vault has done the Lord's work, man. Like, these FOIs are so important, and the people who sent these out, they probably have no idea how culturally and, you know, how important they are. They're probably just like eating Cheetos, like stamping stuff and sending it out. They're like, dude, this is like vitally important information for humanity. Like, oh, they have it already. Boop, psh, send it. You know, I don't care. I'm gonna go have lunch. J. Edgar Hoover, dear Miss. This is from Estabrooks. This is 1933. So this shows how far back it goes. The timestamp for MK Ultra is 53. So this is 38. Excuse me. This is like, you know, 15 years before that. Dear Mr. Hoover, I wish to thank you for the copy of your address, Soldiers in Imperial Time. I have a perfectly beautiful setup in Concord for doing a little hypnotic work on the criminal. Mr. State Director, Probation. Insulin and Notrazol may be of no particular use as conditioners to hypnotism. So they're conditioning their hypnotism with drugs. And that's what people have said over and over, like William Joseph Bryan is like they're accelerating the hypnotic thing with drugs, right?
And that reminds me of the Kanye's handler there, the Pasternak was using drug. He was like, his job was to study those kind of drugs and how they're affected. Like, so I mean, those handlers are everywhere. Like, it's, you know, Hollywood and the government.
Yes,
like, it's the whole thing.
They are. He's Pasternak as a handler, I think.
Totally. Yeah.
One of the things that was in Manchurian Candidate, there's these references to Yen Lo in these papers, and that's a reflection of real-time things. So you see this when Estabrooks is writing to Hoover.
Wow.
I thought the following titles might interest you. A book by Meyer in German, Crime and Hypnotism and Methods for its Solution, or Narbutovich, Hypnotism by Means of Indifferent Stimuli According to the Conditioned Reflex Method.
So that's very important, because indifferent stimuli means there are going to be stimuli that you're not even knowing that it's even affecting you. And this is really central, right? Think about that indifferent stimuli. You can be like, it's not even like you pick up the phone and get the call. It's, you know, it's completely like, you know, a car drives by and honks 4 times or whatever. I mean, that's pretty, but it's okay. Anyways, that's pretty wild. I have to look that book
Remember up. that Condon wrote the book in 59. So this is all stuff from 38. This is 20 years before. It's very important. So they're thinking about it. In German, like, just like Yen Lo, he's referencing stuff in, like, you know, the Russian world and all this other names and people like that. Works for the Pavlov Institute. It's all there. But these, I mean, it's just a real interesting time. This is just part of it. This is not the 500-page document. But he's like,
thank you for sharing this. This is great.
Yeah,
holy crap. I didn't even know about this.
that indifferent stimulus like Milton Erickson, right? So you're feeling Milton Erickson, who's like one of the main uh, i- im, founders like NLP or influenced by him, but also like the pickup artists. Because what Milk Erickson would do, he's talking to you. Oh, it's a beautiful day. You see the bird is flying by, and so that and talking, inducing a hypnotic trance. You don't even know because certain words are weighted. There's a few gestures, and people just go directly into hypnosis. That's also indifferent stimuli, which is, anyways. So, yeah.
And they can do that on the TV and hit everybody at once, and
But look at this flurry of communication. Estabrooks is sending it back from Colgate, upstate New York, Hamilton, right? Hoover's absent. Let's do the experimentation with criminals and suggesting a representation of the Bureau show up. So everybody at the Bureau's involved. It's not just it's J. Edgar Hoover. They're all involved in this criminal stimulus and hypnosis and all this other stuff. Then it's back from Hoover to Estabrooks. Or one, prediction of hypnotic susceptibility from a number of subject attitudes. So this is the whole winnowing process of finding the right hypnotic subject. 2 types of hypnotic trances and their personality correlation. 1938. Cordially yours, Estabrooks.
it just goes to show this is like the only mission of government is mind control. It's like that's what all they do. The only mission is either kill us or mind control us so that we do what they say.
Go back. Sorry, just go back, William. Look at this one: crime in hypnotism and post-hypnotic suggestion.
Wow.
What is crime in hypnotism? An excellent pamphlet. Does that mean, is this using hypnotism to create crime through post-hypnotic suggestion, right? I mean,
doesn't that happen a lot? I mean, didn't we have the Summer of Love there with the George Floyd thing? I mean, wasn't that a bunch of crime induced by hypnotism?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible. The FBI released a 495-page document in response to an FOA concerning George Hoban Estabrooks, which is the closest available document. It was dated till July 2017. And I think I found it. Please download. Okay. Let's see if I can download it. It's on Scribd. Crap.
Sweet. If you give us the link, maybe we can post it below for the listeners to go find it too.
Yeah, if somebody has a Scribd account, I'll put the link right in.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's behind a paywall or something. Okay.
Here it is. I'll put it.
We'll dig it
out.
We'll figure it out.
It's there. It's around somewhere. They just want something. They want you to pay for it. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull this thing out. Scribd is a pain in the butt. It just takes forever. Okay, continue. Log in. I don't know if I have an account here anymore. I actually used to use Scribd quite a bit.
But what is animal hypnotism, right? And I just saw this other one. The mode of action of anesthetics in decreasing the negative potential of the brain cortex with resulting, what is that? Anesthesia, animal hypnotism. So these are different, one form of hypnotism, right? And I'm not even, so that's, got to be a different, like animal magnetism. So it's got to be some other level of this stuff. It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, references, courtesy. Oh, see how this thing. Tolson was the dude who J. Edgar Hoover was his boyfriend. But see how they had these lists of people on there? Those are all bigwigs at the FBI, and then they're like all getting CC'd on this stuff, right?
Stamped on the 22nd. Number 22 again.
Yeah, I don't have a Scribd account.
Some listener does, and some listener will help. I'm sure they're listening. I mean, this is live, so hopefully it's already happening.
So somebody's already.
Hopefully.
Dear Mr. Hoover, just another idea which I frankly cannot evaluate myself. I've been very much interested of late in certain work done by the Russian and French psychologists. This work runs along the line of causing a regression by means of hypnotic suggestion. In other words, they suggest to the subject that he is now 10 years old or 7 or 4. They then test this level of intelligence by means of recognized intelligence test, and to be quite frank, results are surprisingly accurate. Much so, more so than I could have suspected. So this is the whole testing thing. They're like figuring stuff out and getting information from other people.
With split personalities, when the personality or the alter part is broken off in the beginning, when the trauma happens, the time stops and that the age stays where it is. So if the kid was abused when it was 9 or whatever, and then that split stays locked away in unavailable from regular consciousness, and then when it's triggered to come up again, it is 9 years old. That alter is that same age perpetually. So this actually does happen with trauma-based mind control, where the alters will be regressed. They all of a sudden they're 10 years old
So
or
it's
4
real.
years
I mean,
old.
this stuff is real.
Yes.
Yeah, and back that letter you had up, he talks about using hypnotic regression back to infancy in order to give someone an entirely new life.
Wow.
In a whole new timeline.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I just caught that. I just kind of skimmed that.
Where is that?
And that's just like the mind wiping that he was doing,
Right.
that Estabrooks was doing.
Regression to infancy.
Wow. I'm sure that
Pretty
the electroshock. Yeah.
See, the Germans are working on this before the war, right? The Russians and the French.
Because that's the only goal of all governments. It's so crazy.
All right, let me see if I can find this. Yeah, I mean, this whole process, you can see the back and forth. That's what's important. Is like they're learning from Estabrooks. They're starting to get asked better questions. They're talking with the embassy too, like the English embassy's involved in this. But look at how much time, like this is like tons of things. 1940, J. Edgar Hoover. Suppose I take a good hypnotic subject, a workman in one of the munitions factories. I give him the impression, both in hypnotism and out of hypnotism, that he is taking part in a very interesting psychological experiment. I wish to demonstrate to the FBI the remarkable power which the hypnotist has over his subject. Then I introduce him to one of your agents. Needless to say, this age would not be genuine. Then I explain to him that tomorrow morning, in order to demonstrate this experiment, he will enter the munitions plant as usual with his dinner pail. I explained to that all the time he will be under surveillance by men of your department. In his dinner pail, I explain, is a time bomb, which has all the attributes of a perfectly good time bomb, except it contains no explosives. We wish him to cooperate fully in this experiment in order to demonstrate just how this technique could be used against an enemy. So it's a weapon of war, right? So that's the whole thing Yen Lo says in the medical facility in New York in Manchurian Candidate. You now have a weapon of war, or whatever it was.
Just you don't mind finish that next paragraph. Look at the next paragraph.
In the morning, I give him his dinner pail with the time bomb enclosed, but put in a genuine bomb, which will explode after his arrival within the munitions plant. In my opinion, the odds are about 5 to 1 that this plan will succeed. Even if it doesn't, needless to say, I will have removed from him all knowledge of his ever having been hypnotized, and will render it impossible for anyone to hypnotize him in the future. In other words, he will land in the penitentiary on a charge of treason, and I will be free to continue my work. Wow.
That right there is the whole thing. That's all of it. Manchurian Candidate right there.
1940.
Wow.
But he's talking about blowing up an actual munitions plant too. Like it's probably not just hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
And he said like he ends up in a penitentiary and I just continue my life.
That's what a patsy does, right? Yeah.
Man.
Holy crap.
Crazy.
So
I think it might be the Black Bolt.
That's how it really works.
That's it.
This is the real.
This is just 39 pages of 500 pages of this stuff. Like it is off the charts. These Black Vault documents are incredible, dude.
I'm so glad you found this stuff. Holy crap.
Where is this? I think it's if anybody knows where the Black Vault is. Let me see if it's under here. Like, this is stuff like you can't even believe they let out to the public. It's crazy. Brooks.
Well, see, the good thing is this stuff isn't redacted, right? Because I got
Right.
when I got a whole bunch of documents from the recent release was about a year ago or approximately, but half those they're just redacted. You know what I mean? You get like 2 lines. Okay, I mean there's some quite interesting stuff in there, but this is great. It's just straight up, and they probably don't even care. Oh, it doesn't even matter, right? They don't not looking at this as being classified. That's cool. So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Here's another Estabrooks at the Black Vault. It's Hypnosis in Intelligence. That's a whole nother show. Let's see if I can download this. Desktop. I mean, it's just incredible. They were going through it. And obviously, this is at a high level. This is at a academic collegiate level, right? That's what they're talking about. And then 59, Estabrooks is still in communication with the FBI. He's in communication with them for at least 20 years. Hypnotism and juvenile delinquency. This is right around when Manchurian Candidate gets published.
And hypnotism and juvenile delinquency reminds me of the ultraviolence of Alex and his droogs.
Right.
Like what were they doing to make those kids so crazy and chaos? Ultraviolence, dude. And now what do they got? Like it's people are on their TikTok saying, "Yeah, we want more ultraviolence. Get them all." Like holy.
How much of that stuff is actually authentic, or somebody is actually mind controlling them, right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Wow. So Scribd, it seems to be the only place where you can find it. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, let's get back here. Estabrooks, let's see. Reinwald, 59. Hypnosis and juvenile stuff. Plan is to hypnotize a number of juvenile delinquent boys with parental consent and give them post-hypnotic suggestions in order to change their ego ideal from the father to a person such as a minister or anyone of responsibility whom each boy respects, thereby eliminating the cause for rebellion. Wow.
Wow. That's what they do in public school nowadays, aren't they? They teach all the kids to hate their parents.
Right.
Milton Erickson. You see Milton Erickson?
Yeah, I did. Dr. Estabrooks stated that he would like to have the following act as consultants. Milton Erickson, psychiatrist, Phoenix, Arizona. Wow. President of the American Society for Clinical Hypnosis and an FBI representative. So what that means is you see for years the FBI is actively at the very top, is actively involved in this kind of study without ever really being divulged to the public, to my knowledge. Like I don't know offhand if there was ever anything in the kind of public media that ever said that they knew about this stuff. You know what I mean? That's very important because that means they knew it and kept it secret, or they knew about it or researching it and kept it secret.
Well, they have to keep secret that this is the mechanism of power. This is how government maintains itself besides blackmail and, murder, I guess. Like mind control is blackmail itself is mind control. So I guess just murder and blackmail or murder and mind control are the only way that they maintain power, and they need to keep that occulted so that because once we wake up to that, we're going to be saying, I don't do what you say, false authority, a bunch of Satanists, that eat babies or whatever. Sooner or later, we're going to wake up from doing what they say.
This, I think, is a really telling thing about this is what Estabrooks looks like for people who don't know. Harvard University graduate, Rhodes Scholar, Department of Psychology.
Rhodes Scholar.
He is known for hypno-programming U.S. government agents during World War II. Quote, only a people who refuse to permit themselves to sink into intellectual lethargy and conformity, only a people who question and think can be sure that hypnosis disguised or direct will not undermine their freedom and rob them of their very lives.
Wow.
Read that again. He's saying that you cannot be involved in intellectual lethargy or conformity, or that hypnosis will rob you of your life and freedom. The application of hypnosis.
Wow. So it's like this beast that is there coming to get you. And if you don't wake up to the reality, then you will be succumb to that.
Bro,
fate.
it's in all of these Manchurian candidates from 1959 to the present. So many of these people have been tampered with. And hypnosis is just kind of a label. They've been given drugs, hypnosis, something, personality change, maybe ego exchange. I don't know. But like, people would not believe this is real. This stuff is real. Esther Brooks is not a joke. Like, I have a copy of Hypnosis. We can read one of the great things about McGowan is, like, Esther Brooks is mentioned right at the very beginning. Like, it's incredible.
That work that he did, the Born to Kill, or
Program
to Kill. Holy crap, that's so integral to all of this, and all of the mind control they were doing to create the monsters over there in Vietnam. Like, they, what do we do with them? Use them when we, it makes so much sense, and he did so much great work. That's
And just notice the
guys,
progression.
guys, guess what?
Okay.
are you
It
muted again?
is it's your
Okay.
lucky day.
Oh,
I
nice.
have found the 500-page document.
Sweet.
So we're gonna bring that up. This is
Yeah,
gonna
let it.
blow
I
your
want to
mind.
download it. Okay,
Yeah, I'll send it to anybody who wants it. Just email me.
sweet.
This is the 500-page. This is the 500-page version.
Wow.
I want it. It is freaking incredible, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, this is it. So, shout out to John Greenwald, Black Vault, for acquiring this in 2017. David Hardy's he's probably just some kind of like bureaucrat in there, I'm going to lunch exactly at 12. Then I come back at 12:30.
He's got his
I'll
Cheeto.
send this. Yeah, he's got Cheetos on his lips and fingers. Has no idea. Dude, this is an incredible document. It's just the timing too. Like, this pops in, these little things where they're sending this off to people is in here. But some of them are really checked. And then it's a research piece as well. Boyd Barrett, hypnotism. I mean, you could write a book on this whole freaking thing. Pictures. Trial by hypnotism. John Carden, 38, convicted as a payroll bandit, being placed in a state of hypnosis by Dr. Herbert Cantor in Ohio's Penitentiary of Columbus. A few minutes after the hypnotized Carden reiterated his innocence, a fellow prisoner confessed to the crime. Police said the evidence was not conclusive. There's this thing, hypnotism, adaptation of the tensive sense. And the timestamps on the dates and stuff is really important. 37, Rear Admiral, Naval Intelligence to J. Edgar Hoover. This bureau is in receipt of communications from G.H. Esterbrooks of Colgate, transmitting copies of a letter to Robert W. White relative to research on hypnotic susceptibility to J. Edgar Hoover. So these are webs between Naval Intelligence and Hoover, dude. 1937. Incredible.
And wasn't Hoover big into blackmail too? Wasn't that a big part of his
back and forth, right? So he was blackmailed and blackmailing people.
Yeah. No,
right.
He ran, his power base was blackmail.
Right.
But he was blackmailed by Roy Cohn and all his little. They had that hotel set up, right, with the hidden cameras, and he'd be wearing the dress, and in his he'd be, you know what I mean, and it's like, so they had him over a barrel.
Like we said before, Cohn is the basis for Eleanor Iselin, right? So, like, it's all fact and fiction. It interplays. That's kind of like the title of this. Dear Mr. Hoover, a couple of reprints have just come into my hands, which seem to be rather important. They are Change of Auditory Threshold Reverie as Related to Hypnotizability, and A Study of Direct Suggestibility and Social Introversion as Related to Auditory Threshold and to Reaction Time During Reverie. Like Esther Brooks.
Yeah. So, like, all those incels out there, that social inversion, they're gonna go shoot up their schools and stuff because
auditory
they can't get laid.
Stuff. Yeah.
That's that important thing is this undetectable stimulus, right? So it's not even aware. And then just to, mention in that Program to Kill, all of the serial killers, right? Everywhere now, whatever, 360 something mass shootings. How many serial killers do you hear about at all anymore? they're pretty much gone. And I remember just growing up with that, right? It was all over the place,
Pervasive,
one after
yeah.
another, one after another.
I talked to Peter Vronsky, and he did the thing, and you can see the spike. It's right after all of these studies. So they spiked in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and dropped down again. And there were like serial killers, like multiple operating at all times. Here's the thing on the right where you see these check marks. They're going to different people at the FBI. I think that shows that they got a copy of some of these other things, but I don't know. I wonder if I can put this up on it with the, maybe what I'll do is I'll put it up on my website with a downloadable option so people can download it. I don't know how I can do that. I'll try to figure it out today. I'll put it on. I don't know if I can put. Can you put a PDF on Twitter and then somebody?
You can put it on Odyssey. Odyssey allows you to upload and download PDFs.
Okay.
Yes.
I haven't used my Odyssey channel in a long time.
People forget about Odyssey. Those guys are good over there. But this is amazing.
Oh
man, this is great. I definitely want a copy of it.
There's your Milton Erickson again. Translation of cryptic automatic writing, right? That's Sirhan. The translation of the cryptic automatic writing of one hypnotic subject by another in a trance-like dissociated state by Milton H. Erickson and Lawrence Kuby.
Lawrence Kuby, of course, big Macy conference guy, big major player in. I mean, Lawrence Kuby is very, very important. So that's. I had no idea there was a connection with Erickson and Kuby. That is wild. Okay,
1940, man.
1940.
Yeah, see, they're pushing back the understanding to the 30s. Yeah, it's pushing back to the 30s, the understanding of the stuff, and that's probably how Condon became so well versed, as he had access to something through somewhere, or just kept his nose on the grindstone and got papers or something like that. I don't know.
He's probably in the cult. He's probably
the clown.
If he's in Hollywood and he's a promoter of all these films, he's probably a minor player. Yeah, he probably knows all that stuff about, what's the guy who was in Eyes Wide Shut, the face, the mask, or whatever, who was doing all those parties and stuff. He probably knows the stories, Bob Hope.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he was a knight of the Pope and a knight of the British Crown. He was he's both, and he did those USO shows. Like, holy crap, dude! And bringing all those mind-controlled women to all of those places where there's war-torn and doing their transmission of information from the woman to whoever they're sleeping with, and that whole like the mind-controlled slaves like Alice and Bryce Taylor and stuff. They would be under hypnosis and mind control in a different altar. They would go and sleep with some foreign leader or influence, person of influence, and and it would be like a diplomatic thing where she's transmitting information to him, and she doesn't even know it and what the information is, but she says it to him while they're after their tryst of lovemaking or whatever. And then this is it's another whole level of spycraft.
Interesting. Dear Mr. Hoover, 1940, I take the liberty of forwarding you an article by Dr. Wells of Syracuse. It seems to me that this article is extremely significant. May I suggest that if you and our military people are unwilling to use such an unethical process as hypnotism and insist on modern war as a cricket match, I don't think we have any right to presume that the totalitarian states would be worried over any such scruples. In this case, it would seem to me wise to get our anti-aircraft defenses in order, so to speak. As I said in a previous communication, there's no reason to think it a reasonable possibility that such a disaster as that in the Hercules powder co could not have been produced by this means. So was there an explosion at the Hercules powder co? I don't maintain that it was, but I say that it could have been. And if somebody decides to use this weapon for sabotage, it might prove a very serious matter. So he's alleging that some bombing that happened at their Hercules powder co might have been done by somebody under hypnosis. Wow. Crazy stuff, man. Wow. It's all there. I got to figure out where to put this up. I don't know if I can do that.
Maybe archive.org. I don't know if
the archive's good. That's a good place. Maybe it is into archive. Somebody's just blowing up my phone. I don't know.
I have that
Anyway,
WeTransfer Pro, and I can actually put files up with access at it for like I think it's up to like.
Well, I'll send it
6
to you
months.
two guys too, so
Great.
you can give it to your audience as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I get that downloadable link, I mean, I could just upload it, and there's the link, and anybody can access it. So I don't mind doing that. So.
Beautiful. Thank you.
These are like getting back to kind of Oswald. In March 1967, Perry Raymond Russo testified before a criminal district court in New Orleans that he had been present. This guy was hypnotized too, Russo, by the way, for the court trial. A conversation between Clay Shod Ferry and a person calling himself Leon Oswald, an agent of Division 5, talked about the necessity of 3 shooters and a triangulation of fire. According to Copeland, the nomenclature of an assassination cabal, the person going by the name Leon Oswald was in fact William Seymour, an agent for a private detective agency called Double Check. So that's like the doubling thing they were using for Oswald to confuse people. What Copeland did not see was that the breakdown was engineered by very forces responsible for the mind control of America and the destruction of its way of life. The Kennedy assassination was a British intelligence Reed Tavistock hit, and its purpose was to shock the American consciousness into a near comatose state for reprogramming, the standard Tavistock modus operandi. Remember, Dulles said that MK Ultra was for collective and individual. It's not individual, it's collective. Specific techniques of mind control may have also been employed in the Kennedy assassination at the microcosmic level. Lee Harvey Oswald in September 1957 arrived at the Atsugi Naval Air Force Base to work as a radar operator with a security clearance, odd for a man so forthcoming about his pro-communist views that he was dubbed Oswaldovich by his fellow soldiers. Atsugi, aside from being a launch base for the top-secret U-2 spy plane, also housed the Joint Technical Advisory Group, where MK Ultra LSD experimented. We know that something was going on there. There's memos between Dulles and Atsugi saying stop LSD. Once in Atsugi, Oswald engaged in more than radar monitoring at a Tokyo nightclub called the Queen Bee. Oswald became intimate with the hostess, who was believed to be a Russian spy and contracted gonorrhea. Oswald's medical record states that the disease was contracted in the line of duty, not due to own misconduct. Obviously, Oswald was at the time functioning as an agent of the military, possibly performing surveillance on the believed Russian spy at the Queen Bee. Kerry Thornley, perhaps Oswald's closest friend at the Atsugi base, in correspondence with the author, recalls an attempt to recruit himself, Oswald and a third man, into a possible intelligence operation. Thornley writes, kind of goes into this like loan sharking and this other stuff. But it just shows Oswald was involved in like suspicious. I think this is Jim Key's mind control, world control. 2 weeks prior to Oswald's defection to the Soviet Union, Webster, formerly in the Navy, renounces. So somebody else did the same thing than Oswald. Like Oswald, Webster would later do a turnabout and return to the United States. His return greased by affidavits from RAND, Research and Development. So that's another intel cutout. It just goes on. It's just crazy stuff. This is the implant. Webster, this is the other defector. It is also fascinating to learn that the address of Webster's apartment building was in Marina Oswald's address book. And after that, she is known to have said that her husband defected after employment at American exhibition that took place in Moscow. This was obviously not Oswald, but Webster. The pseudonymous Lincoln Lawrence in We Were Controlled recalls a deadly rumor that Lee Harvey Oswald had been admitted to the 3rd Clinical Hospital's Ear, Nose, and Throat Division in Minsk, Russia. Lawrence says that after Oswald was anesthetized, a tiny radio receiver was implanted in Oswald's head that could trigger at will post-hypnotic suggestions that had already been induced. The same device could be used to erase his memory of events. Whether or not Oswald was implanted, the deadly rumor seems to have reached the ears of CIA Director McCone, who penned a memo to Secret Service head James Rowley on March 1964. McCone's memo stated that Oswald had possibly been chemically or electronically controlled, a sleeper agent. Subject spent 11 days hospitalized for a minor ailment, which should have required no more than 3 days hospitalization at best. So there they are. They're all in these hospitals. Sirhan, Chapman, Oswald. One person who reacted with shock about Lincoln Lawrence's allegation that Oswald had been implanted with a control device was Marguerite Oswald Lee's mother. She told Dallas assassination researcher Mary Farrell, quote, "I've got to find out who wrote this book because they knew my son," unquote. Marguerite Oswald would not explain to Farrell how she knew this, but Dick Russell, author of The Man Who Knew Too Much, also involves hypnotic triggers, and Nagel's another story. I have to talk about Nagel in a later broadcast. Speculates Marguerite would sometimes stand behind Lee's chair as he played some board game and rub his back and head.
That's a bit odd, isn't it?
And she said the texture of his hair had changed. It wasn't soft like it used to be. Suddenly it came to me, what if, when she was doing that, she felt a little scar up inside the hairline? Another person concerned about Oswald's appearance was his brother Robert. According to Epstein in legend, quote, "The most marked change was his hair. Not only had it thinned almost to the point of baldness on top, but he's only 24, but the texture had changed from soft to kinky. Struck by this loss of hair, Robert couldn't help wondering what had happened to his brother during the intervening years in the Soviet Union, and later speculated that it might have been caused by medical or shock treatments."
I was thinking that the whole time, and then it got the shock treatments. I was like, oh, there it is. Because, I mean, the electricity is like sizzling the hair. It's like making it burned. Like if you light a cigarette and you burn your beard, it like kinks it up. It gets all curled and like weird and coarse and not soft anymore, you know?
That's the whole thing that was going on at Ewan Cameron and McGill. They were doing electroshock therapy at levels 1,000 times the allow. They literally, people would stop breathing. Like they would freaking fry them. Like It was so grotesque. It was unbelievable. Like people who were like the researchers there would like start crying because people would just stop breathing. Like it like fried their freaking autonomous like
their
part of your brain,
stem of their brain, the reptile brain or whatever.
Herman Kimsey, an Army counterintelligence operative and CIA official who claimed an insider's knowledge of the Kennedy hit, was quoted in Hugh McDonald's appointment in Dallas as saying, quote, "Oswald was programmed to kill, like a medium at a seance. Then the mechanism went on the blink, and Oswald became a dangerous toy without direction," unquote. 3 weeks after Kimsey offered these revelations to McDonald, he died of a heart attack, age 55. One of CIA pilot and hypnotist David Ferry's associates in Walter Bowert's Operation Mind Control, all mentioned earlier, is quoted as having suggested that Oswald had been hypnotized by Ferry to murder the president. Ferry was a CIA contract agent and a high priest of the small religious group called the Apostolic Old Catholic Church of North America, like Baumler and William Joseph Brent, that according to researcher Lauren Coleman, engaged in animal sacrifice and the drinking of blood. Coleman states that, quote, "During Lee Harvey Oswald's last weeks in New Orleans, he attended many ritualistic parties in private homes and apartments with David Ferry." If hypnotism was used to program Oswald, hypnotism may have been employed for his ultimate deprogramming through death by another assassin. On the scene of the immediately prior to the John F. K. assassination was William Crowe, whose stage name was Bill DeMar. Crowe was employed as a stage hypnotist at Jack Ruby's Carousel Club on the week of the assassination. Jack Ruby, of course, was the man who shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Whoa. That blood sacrifice, like drinking blood and animal sacrifice, that just ties it back to, this mind control has been the operating system since ancient Babylon. And yeah, same thing, same.
Garrison said Ferry was one of the most, I think he even said he was the most important person that ever lived. He said something really crazy about David Ferry. I got to see what it was. What did Jim Garrison...
So Jack Ruby was supposedly hypnotized by this other guy, that William Crowe, at the club, and that's why. But Jack Ruby was he was a widow's son too, right? Wasn't he in the Masonic orders?
Who's that?
Jack Ruby.
I don't know. He was Jewish. He's part of a mafia.
He was
a gun runner and stuff.
Okay, he was pretty big in the mafia. Actually, it wasn't a small guy. You know, he had
Chicago ties and all kinds of stuff.
Right. I was under the impression that he did that because he had to, like someone made it so that he had to go do that. But I didn't even think that he was under hypnosis too. Like,
Well,
wow.
who knows?
Yeah, right.
Who knows? These guys are like the stage magicians, are just stage magicians, but who knows what they're doing their off hours, right?
Or what if he's just hypnotizing him with that thing you saw with the Hoover, right? That from Esterbrook's, he's doing a routine. He's implanting the command, and Ruby doesn't even know. He's just running a nightclub. He doesn't even know that he's just been induced with a command, right, to kill Oswald. So it's very, very possible, actually.
Just like Shaw with the cards at the bar, and the guy says, "Oh, jump in the river," or whatever, and then he gets up and jumps in the river because it's by accident programmed, because it just goes in. It's like you said earlier. We talked about how it's undetectable hypnosis.
Right. It's incredible. This is the way they were thinking, and that's what he said. This is what Garrison said about Ferry in '67. Ruled a natural aneurysm when he died. Quote, the apparent suicide of David Ferry ends the life of a man who, in my judgment, was one of history's most important individuals. Evidence developed by our office has long since confirmed that he was involved in events culminating in the assassination of President Kennedy. And then he goes on to say, quote, I had nothing but pity for David Ferry while he was alive, and I have nothing but pity for him now that he's dead. So he said he was one of history's most important individuals, Garrison did. And there's actually interesting things from Garrison's biography. I think it's on the Trail of the Assassins, where like he's just farting around like New Orleans. He runs into Ferry and he's got like weird hair and he's acting crazy. Like he's like a local crazy person. He's like a local grok or whatever, like a crazy clown. Like he's running around. He's all frenetic and he drinks like 12 cups of coffee a day. Like that's how he operated. Like he was different. Like you have to read the parts. I'll see if I can find it if there's another talk after this. But this is I mean, I don't know how much more stuff I've got.
He's the one with alopecia, right? And the weird eyebrows. Okay. He looks weird anyway.
They think what happens is that he was a pilot, but he may have been also a U-2 pilot. And that's a common thing with high altitude flying is the compression on your body like impedes hair growth. So he may have gotten alopecia from doing U-2 spy plane flights. I don't know.
That's why the gray aliens don't have any hair, obviously.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know which one.
What book is this from, William? Sorry, this particular book?
I'm pretty sure this is World Control, Mind Control by Jim Keith.
Okay.
But it overlooks a lot of the stuff. It's really good. Like he died suspiciously too. He like broke his leg, I think at Burning Man of all places, and went into the hospital and came out dead. So
yeah. Okay.
Somebody at the hospital got the call.
Yeah, somebody at Burning Man got the call.
Yeah,
too,
who knows? Yeah, who knows? I don't know. It's very suspicious, especially when he's writing stuff like this.
The whole Burning Man is a government experiment. It is mind control, MK Ultra. Like
interesting in the context of RHICEDOM technology is the statement made almost 10 years after the publication of We Were Control. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the MK Ultra heavyweight, during questioning by Senator Richard Schweiker, which I mentioned earlier, Oswald is overseen by intelligence. In '77, Senate hearings on CIA drug testing responded as follows. Schweiker, some of the projects under MK Ultra involved hypnosis. Is that correct? Gottlieb, yes. Schweiker, did any of these projects involve something called radio hypnotic intracerebral control, which is a combination, as I understand it, in layman's terms, of radio transmissions and hypnosis? Gottlieb, my answer is no. Schweiker, none whatsoever. Gottlieb, well, I am trying to be responsive to the terms you used. As I remember it, there was a running interest, all the time in the effects of people standing in the field of radio energy have. And it could easily have been that someone, somewhere, in many projects, someone was trying to see if you could hypnotize someone easier if he was standing in a radio beam. That would seem like a reasonable piece of research to do. So he's like, yeah, he's not maybe, maybe he's lying, but maybe it happened. I don't know. these a lot of those commissions, they were good because the people compiling them got a lot of information together, but the people giving testimony just bullshitted the entire freaking time.
Just might be a radio beam of is
Yeah.
exactly 42 hertz that will cause this particular intersymbolic reaction. Just happens to be there. I don't know why. It just kind of there's just some.
Whoops.
What's important is that this is what's happening today.
Yeah,
This,
you're
I mean,
right.
you don't know how much they can juice your
Well,
phone.
and just to stress this for people that be aware that they chose specific frequencies. So I remember when this 5G started coming, there's frequencies that are totally non-toxic, that are far more powerful, far better coverage, far better signal clarity. You don't need repeaters. These are frequencies that operate on same level of the brain. These are considered, basically, were used in part of the spectrum of microwave warfare. And use. I mean, these are some of the basic frequencies are aligned with stuff that was researched as it's toxic. There's a huge, there's a whole planet. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands of different spectrums, but let's just pick these particular ones that are right, that are going to directly affect even intercerebral blood flow, this, that, and so it's because that's the thing. It's like a access, right? So the frequency is an access point that you can piggyback carrier wave. So again, maybe an accident, just like standing in the radio wave, just an accident. It happens to be a radio wave. But yeah, I mean, that's something that people should be conscious of, that we don't. Why are these specific frequency sets chosen, knowing that they are harmful in general? That's why people are getting brain cancer, from holding the phone up. I mean, you don't get a brain cancer from listening to an AM radio, right? Okay. That's
right. It's true. I mean,
I'm pretty sure these are from the book. You can find it on archive.org. Mind Control, World Control, Jim Keith, published 1997. And I think that the study, when you really look into Oswald, you have to see him in a mind control environment. And I think that's the real oversight and mistake a lot of people, is that they see him as kind of an independent person. He has all the indices of a Manchurian candidate. And this is 1 year after the movie comes out in late 92, right? He's put into place. He's driven around. He's got hypnotists surrounding him all over the place. He's got secret society people, Knights of Malta, strange, Orthodox Church people, doing blood rituals. Like, it's almost not even believable. It sounds like a movie script, but
it seems like he doesn't have any will of his own. Like in all these instances, it's like he was pushed to do that by this guy. He was told to do that, and he works for these guys, and you never hear about Oswald having any kind of actual will.
It's a really good point.
He's just an empty
great
vessel.
Observation. That's a great observation. He's almost in the hands of somebody else manipulating,
Always.
Giving him money, telling him where to go.
That's because his mom massages him when he plays board games.
He's no dad is around. There's no dad around. He's the younger son. He's passive. He's suggestible. He's kind of, there's just a lot of elements about him. And they had a freaking detailed psychological history of him when he was 13. Like, this is really disturbing, man. And he's dead at 24. Like, one of the most important people. Like, you want to talk about Ferry, one of the most important people who ever lived. Like, Oswald's still bandied about, but poor guy was in like a pawn in all of these other people's lives, kingmakers and handlers and all that.
He's like Forrest Gump, just and everywhere, like at all these places.
I mean, imagine, like, how does Ruth Payne know to pick him up? I mean, this is just a mystery in itself. I've got a friend. You don't know her very well. She's going to pick you up in New Orleans, and she's going to take you to Irving, and she's going to get you a job. Okay. Like, I would be like, fuck, what? I can drive myself. Or I will get in a car. What? Why do I need her to drive me? Like, she has an infamous station wagon that's seen around the crime scene and stuff. Like, even that in itself is weird. It's freaking weird.
Think about all those hours of driving where she has his ear and she can just upload all kinds of hypnosis programming words into his head.
She's 2 degrees of separation from the guy who started MK Ultra. She literally goes from her to Bancroft to Dulles, who's still around. It's freaking crazy. No, you almost never find that in any JFK research. It's not important to them. Almost none of them get key into that at all.
Just real quick here on the electronic dissolution of memory, right? So it looks like that it's actually it's not like electroshock, right? It's simply you overstimulate the brain so it doesn't record the memories. And there's talking about this Lawrence guy that you could even have someone can shake your hand if they have one of these devices and they'll give you a small shock. It will basically stop your brain from recording memories to cover up a crime and stuff like that. So it was actually like a kind of a subtle thing. It's just the guy, the Dr. American Advancement of Science, says it's like a freeway with too many cars on it, right? And then you have a traffic jam. You're not recording the memory, but it could just be and you could change the memory, you wipe it out and touch them, pat them on the shoulder, boom. So anyways, that's throwing that out there. So.
Right. I mean,
Wow.
they were working and refining these techniques to be used as a weapon. That's the theme. That goes back to the film. Going back to Yen Lo, Dr. Yen Lo in the medical place. You have a weapon with amnesia. It's really incredible. Esther Brooks he distilled a lot of that stuff very early, and it's not surprising that he's never mentioned ever. They always just say MK Ultra or something like that. But like the academic writings and all that stuff that we've covered in the original Manchurian Candidate shows I think in the Manchurian Candidate and in real life, in factual life, it just shows the voluminous amount of research that was done. It's not like there was one guy doing it. I mean, even Esther Books in those documents I sent you, I'm bringing to your attention French and Russian researchers, like people, they were all doing this stuff. They were all trying to figure it out. So it's very dark. And then like coming up to the present, it's like Sean said, the Black Awakening and people going crazy and real personality changes, strange things, even with the shots. And like, even in my family, like people, whoa, like you're acting really looped, man. Like they got all their shots, but like, whoa, this is not right. So anyway, I've got another 30 hours, guys. I can probably do show after
Let's
show.
keep going.
We're gonna keep going. But I just want to state that, like this is something that you'll start to notice it. I'm not trying to make people like paranoid. Don't walk into the radio beam, but basically, like something. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Like I went out, I had to go to the grocery store yesterday. Everybody seemed really almost kind of tranced out, kind of very aggressive, very, rude, very prickly. And it was like, it was literally, I'm in a, grocery store. I'm like, man, I'm walking into it was really bizarre. And I could feel, something going on, right? I mean, I'm saying even just kinetically in terms of like, you can feel some kind of frequency, energy, whatever, right? But I mean, I could see literally it affected everybody. And because I'm not necessarily falling into the entrainment of that stimulus. I could observe it, even though I could feel myself also becoming a bit irritable, but not necessarily locked into it. Have you guys noticed that at all, like in collective, like situations, or just here and there?
Yeah, it seems like everybody is being squeezed right now. Like everything, the whole world is like coming down on all the poor people, and they are breaking. Even at work, people are like fighting with the bosses and like everybody, it's just really frothed up to the fever pitch. This whatever this working is, that whole thing with Charlie and and this 9/11 and all of this, it's really, and what Israel is doing and continuing to do, and how they're expanding all their bombing, and they're just going to go kill out I think it's really ramping up. I think I agree with you, Hans. I think I see that too.
100%.
100%. There is a level you can start to, because we can, you say, it's basically it's just a more of a clarification of like it's primarily say kinesthetic, but you could if you get more clear with your nervous system, okay, you have say for example like yesterday, so I did feel myself getting kind of irritated. Somebody whatever did sell my car, but I could feel it, but I wait and then you expand your awareness. Wait, is there any sense of any kind of you can feel it's almost like you I don't know like not like an electrical shock but it's a you know what I mean you can feel it. You stand next to a microwave, you stand next to like a power source. I could see, you know what I mean, so this is something you can actually start to notice if you don't go into that entrainment, right? So what I'm saying is that you broadcast a particular frequency. I could see whatever it may be, right? But I'm saying it's affecting. You can see a mass effect. It's like, wait, I'm noticing everybody around me is affected by this. But once that emotional state is triggered, right? I'm pissed off. Today sucks. Then you're not gonna. But if you can, you know what I'm trying to say? Like just like it's almost like a heat. Like it's just
Right.
it's a sensitivity because we're aware of it. It's just you have to bring it to the conscious threshold instead of just getting into the triggered emotional state. Because once you go into that, you are hypnotized, basically.
Right. And what you said about like taking a moment to think about what is instead of just reacting, I think that's important because that moment allows us to think, because the great the dark occult wants us to be reactive in our non-thinking mind of the base brain and to act in those emotional triggers. And what you were saying is to maintain your own mind, you need to take a minute to separate between the stimulus and the response.
And you can actually get, I mean, if you develop it, because it's something like I, sort of try, bringing awareness, but you start to get clear, direct impressions from the nervous system, right? So you get a greater degree of sensitivity, of clarity. It's almost, there'll be like a sense of heat. There'll be, you can start to notice something. Okay. And you can see what there is something, I'm getting, you know what I mean? Like you'll notice it, like, cause there's some cues. Most of they're going to be subconscious, but you will. I'm trying to come up with a good analogy, but it's like there. You go around on something electronic, or you go walk around a cell phone tower that's more dramatic. You can notice that, right? But so that's just something I've thrown out there. But seeing how all this stuff has been operational since the 30s, man, and I'm like, so this now is being done very remotely by some of the stuff. And I'm throwing that out there just because something I've noticed. So I don't know.
Listen, this is from Constantine's The Psychic Dictatorship in the USA. Ties into a lot we're talking about and how Condon knew what he knew. So operate Project Artichoke, CIA's umbrella remote mind control program in the 50s, as reported in innumerable men's magazines. So I've noticed that there was a Estabrooks article posted in a magazine called Argosy in 1950. It was called Hypnosis as a Weapon of War. So maybe that's how Condon got stuff. It's because that's maybe before your time, Sean, but like old people like me, like that's what we had, how we had access is magazines or books.
Right.
We didn't have the internet.
So
we actually used to get this thing called a newspaper, and you'd wait for it in the morning, and then you'd read it thinking you're getting informed. Like, wow, man, I gotta get the newspaper.
I thought that was only in the movies. What are you talking about?
Hey, William, just read that paragraph. That's exactly
I'm
what I was
trying
talking about. The top, right at the top of the page.
Was the creation of a Manchurian puppet killer with a revolver and a memory like a steel sieve, both emptied by electrical stimulation. So empty all that stuff.
No, I was just saying.
Okay.
The same
emotions, anger can be created by artificial radio signals sent to your brain by a controller. You can instantly feel the same white hot anger without any apparent reason. Interesting. This is probably go over Constantine's book, but it does go over this book that I mentioned, that We Were Controlled, that posits that Oswald is either radio controlled or something. The author's reconstruction holds the world today as it did in 1968 when the book was published. If only persons involved with the book proved as durable. Lawrence's attorney, the late Martin Sheeman, was gunned down inside the Time Life building. I wouldn't be in the Time Life building of that. A condensation of the book by Damon Runyon Jr., an adherent to New Orleans DA Jim Garrison's recreation of the Kennedy assassination, was preempted by death. In April 1968, the celebrated writer suffered a mortal fall from a bridge in Washington, D.C.'s Rock Creek Park. The CIA circle in the inferno swelled with odd deaths, disappearances, and suicides. Likewise, Oswald Crony, David Ferry, CIA pilot and hypnotist, was found dead in his New Orleans apartment surrounded by 15 empty medicine bottles, a seeming suicide. But the coroner's final ruling was the cause of death was a berry aneurysm. Forensic specialists ventured that the blood vessel had hemorrhaged as a result of a karate blow to the back of his head. Raiding police carted off Ferry's effusive notes on hypnosis and a pile of books on post-hypnotic suggestion. He had to cover it all up. His cohorts went into hiding after his death, but one Jack Markin surfaced long enough, according to Walter Boort in Operation Mind Control, to suggest that Oswald had been programmed by Ferry to go to Dallas and kill the president. Then we go to Helms. He was a Machiavelli with a mission, an avid proponent of telemetry as a form of low-intensity warfare. Helms commandeered a vast research network in pursuit of such subtle depth persuasion techniques as the transmission of strategic subliminal messages to the brains of enemy populations. He advocated the use of high frequencies to affect memory and even the unconscious. Helms ordered up a scientific cabal to study automata theory. In a memo to the Warren Commission, he made mention of biological radio communication. The 1964 memo was prophetic. Helms, quote, "Cybernetics can be used in molding of a child's character, the inculcation of knowledge and techniques, the amassing of experience, the establishment of social behavior patterns, all functions which can be summarized as control of the growth processes of the individual."
Scary. They're making people, people are robots. That's how they look at it.
Helms commandeered a vast research network. So you have to you go from Dulles to Helms. These guys are really freaking sinister, man.
Molding of a child's character. And they keep all of us in a child state of mind. We're all like infantile at.
Absolutely. How free are you? How much of your character is your own? Right. Honest to God. I grew up in Northern California and they pushed drugs and LSD and all that stuff I was just suffused with all that stuff. And that was kind of the cool thing. They made it all look cool. The Kool-Aid acid test and counterculture and all that stuff.
I didn't bring this up in the show, but I was thinking about that. I had classes in this in high school. Okay, I went to this alternative high school, right? But there was a class, talking about on the road, there was a class on LSD. And the guy's coming, one of the students came in, "I'm tripping, man. It's so cool." And literally, and we're reading Kesey and like Kerouac, right? It's okay. I realized Kerouac, okay, he's kind of I thought he was a great author. You look at him, he drank 14 Boilermakers an hour on average per day.
Wow.
That's some pretty serious drinking.
Incredible.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know, man.
That's incredible.
But these guys, this was pushed, right? This was showing these are the real heroes, right? These are the cultural heroes. These are people that really in school, not outside of school, right? And Neil Cassidy net worth when he died was anywhere from $1 million to $35 million.
How?
Yeah, I don't know. The guy never even wrote it. He never even published a single book.
He was written about, but how did he make all that money? That's crazy.
I don't know. But anyway, but this is the level, right, of the stuff where and this is implanting, right? These models and ideas, and just creates people more susceptible across the entire culture. But it's wild, right? This stuff it's not like we're talking about stuff that's hidden underground cults. No, these people are seen as heroes, right?
Right.
The 60s rock stars, the Beats, whatever. These are cultural icons of freedom, of power, of creativity, of love. Okay.
It's funny that in your generation, you got that in school, and the generation I was past school by the time 9/11 happened, but my good friend James Corner was in school and they wheel in the TV and they make everybody watch the tower get hit by the thing over and over again all day. And I talked to other people that were in school, and myself, I was in jail at the time, and they sat us down in front of the TV, made us watch the TV. So it's like that's the next level of mind control. Okay, everybody get the trauma programming here. Everybody cry, watch the people. I mean, they were like pulling their clothes off and jumping out the building. I mean, they were like being microwaved and shit. Like,
Incredible.
The whole thing turned to dust in front of everybody, and we're like, that's the next level. Like, okay, so now what are they doing?
How long have we've been traumatized over and over
Yeah.
and over and over again. I call it collective psychic driving. Like, it is incredible just what the average American has endured. It's just like, okay, you can't have any psychological peace. Like, and it's weird too, because I went camping like outside the grid, so I couldn't have any phone contact and everything. And like my tension, just like the subconscious, whatever it is, whether it's the microwaves or any thing, like my body decreased. Like, it felt like the subconscious base level of my conscious, I don't know how to explain it, but just it felt like it just evaporated. So like I grounded and sat on the ground. It was really a trip. Like, I can't wait to get back off the grid. Like, it's amazing.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you got back to your humanness instead of all this electronics and stuff input. Yeah,
I think you're right. I'm trying to find this thing. Have you ever heard of Alice's restaurant in Northern California?
You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant.
Yeah, I was just there. I was there last week. That's where I was kind of off grid. I was right there, and they had this cool thing with all these names you just mentioned. I'm trying to get it up. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing to actually work. Let's see, share. Anyway, edit. But yeah, I was just there. It was pretty cool. So like a bunch of old hippies, literally like old hippie people.
That's awesome. They were probably on LSD, but that's okay.
They were very happy.
LSD's okay. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Everybody was in a very good mood, and they were playing bluegrass.
Awesome.
And it felt very like I said, like kind of away from it all, background to earth. Let's see. I think I want to show you guys this before we wrap this up.
Because this is on before this disappears. This is cybernetics and the molding of a child's character, and this is what the government has been studying all this time since the 30s. I just want all the parents to keep that in mind. Now that they're sending their kids back to school, just they got Pavlov programming. It's school is built by the same people that build the jails. You know what I mean? Maybe you should do some homeschooling. I just want to say that.
Send. All right, let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, man, it's pretty. I mean, what they're studying and what they tell the public, like none of this stuff is ever publicized to the public through the Mockingbird media. That's what's also kind of scary about all this stuff. Like,
right.
Why isn't this published?
The media is the mind control. Right?
Yeah, it's because it is, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of effort, right, to get this going. I mean, it's the fact is that we still have autonomy and freedom means that it's not quite as robust, right? But it does definitely have an effect, and it's not, I think once you start to get that clarity and at least know where it's a signal coming from, you can ascertain that, you know how to get yourself out of the range of a certain thing. The problem is other people, like you know what I mean? The mass shootings. I mean, you don't want to be around. You can see people just like I think I don't know if it was in the show, but I was some sort of normal liberal friends. They don't necessarily know my viewpoints, but like Hillary Clinton Democrats or this kind. Middle of the road, right? Oh, he deserved to die. That guy, that Charlie, he was a hate monger. He was racist. So it's a good thing they killed him. These are people that are not the opposite of radical, right? Just, you know what I mean? Like just the most middle of the road. But this is coming from people of that ilk are talking about. So this is an example of hypnotic programming, is it not?
I think something's going on. The detachment, from like reality too. Like Charlie might have said things that were controversial or whatever, but he didn't really come across as hateful. He was willing to dialogue with people. It's the opposite of that. He's not like ranting in some right wing Nazi thing. So like it's also inability to kind of see outside that language, like fascist and whatever, all that stuff is crazy.
But if the normal level people are on board with killing, then the dark occult wins, right? That's their goal. Like, and that's, I was always, growing up, like, how could the German people have gone along with Hitler and all this? Like, just, oh, now we see. Like, I mean, years ago, 4 years ago, there was like, they wouldn't let us in a grocery store without a mask on our face. But now they're like, okay, we condone killing an innocent father in front of everybody. I mean, I thought it was bad enough when they're like, mask on your face, but now it's like, we want you dead. Like, oh my God, what's next? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, I actually made this actually happen. Took me a minute, but I figured it out.
My minutes are getting smaller by the minute.
Yeah, how much time do you have left?
I could probably go about 10 more minutes before I have to go. But you guys can continue on. It's okay,
I don't know. I'm pretty burned out. I had a guy that's fixing my sink. He's here, so.
Okay. Well, do you want to
well, I was gonna try to show you this thing from this. Okay, this is. I was at Alice's Cafe. I'll show it to you real quick. It's kind of part of the American cultural history. It took me forever, but here it is. This is up on the wall at Alice's.
Oh, Ginsburg right on top. How? Oh my God.
It's all there. LSD, Merry Pranksters, On the Road, Howl, Jack Kerouac, Summer of Love.
But Ginsburg,
Vietnam, hippie communes, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Ken Kesey.
NAMBLA. Ginsburg is in NAMBLA. I mean, he's
one of the founders, man.
Yes, he found. Oh my God, he rapes children. Rapes children.
One of his last books was gifted to me. It's called White Stains. I'm not sure what it's about.
Isn't that's the name of Crowley's book?
Yeah, so he also has a book of white. Yeah.
Oh my God! In Crowley's book, he jizzed on it. That's what the white stains are, dude. Yeah, that's gross.
But look at this.
And one of those books is $10,000. I mean, it's
look at all Jack Kerouac, Alice. Okay, Howl, and of course, Howl is that. This was the big censorship thing, right? Freedom of speech. And that poem, I saw the best minds of my generation drag, starving, hysterical, naked, wandering through the angry Negro streets looking for a fix. I remember the first line. But
great.
but literally, it's like that's when I realized, like Jack Kerouac, like I idolize this guy, and looking back at his literary output, basically he's not that great of a writer. I hate to say it. He's okay. But what was this guy's lifestyle? It was, this guy was a major drunk, dude. It just a complete, and what was their thing? Just party, freak out, burn out, fade away. Better to burn out than fade away. He literally talks about that. The ideal of life, I forget the exact passage, like a Roman candle that goes off. Everybody goes, look at them. Boom, they just blow up. And that's what he was promoting.
Eugenics?
Yeah, not that he was
killing the people.
But Allen Ginsberg was kind of a little bit of a handler for him too, because he was at Columbia. He was influenced, so he had Neil Cassidy was bisexual, so he and Allen got together, and Neil Cassidy again. How did that guy end up with so much money? The guy was just, what did he do? He just was this party clown. But this is,
Cowboy Neil at the wheel, the bus to never ever land, right? That whole thing, that Grateful Dead line.
Yeah, it was everywhere, huh?
Yeah, there's probably because of the black market stuff that was going on. You know what I mean? That's probably how he got rich and well, not famous, but rich at least.
All
Either
right,
that or
so-
blackmail. Maybe it's because he's buggering children and blackmailing people. Not a funny
Off.
thing. I'm just
You know, because he brought the beat generation into this hippie generation with Ken Kesey, right? So
Okay.
this is the you know. So
here's your hippie pick. Here's your hippie pick, guys. Let's see if I can bring this up. Image, share screen. This is what Alice's restaurant looked like. There's nobody like under 40.
nice. That looks like the 50-year anniversary Dead show I went to.
Yeah. They're all playing. The bluegrass band is on the right. And it's just nice. It's nice up there. If you get a chance, go to Alice's restaurant. I got to wrap it up, guys.
Likewise. Yeah. Thank you, William, so much. And one more time, tell us where your website, WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com.
William Ramsey Investigates website. My podcast is William Ramsey Investigates. You can find that there. I think I'm at like 1,500 episodes on a wide variety of stuff. I've had you guys on a variety of subjects too, so people check that out. And then I have 5 books available on Amazon. But thanks very much. Thanks for having me. Till next time.
Thanks very much.
When I say 30 hours, also, I'll try to get that 500-page document out so people can access
Awesome.
it. But I'll email it to you right now too.
Yeah, we look forward to the next piece of this unfolding adventure you're bringing us on. So, let's do more episodes on this, please.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye.